So if you got 6 cells, that's 6 amps, and then 1.6 to 1.7 volts each times that by 6.
Well, the amps doesn't go up. The amp stays 1 amp. You have to go in parallel to do that, not series. If you want the amps to go up, you have to be in parallel.
Yeah, but
So
either way,
yeah, you're going to have your amp stay 1 amp at 7 volts, so 7 watts.
Yeah, which is not too shabby. You know
No,
what?
it's
The
not.
way I
That's a
look at
good
it,
10 watts for free. You could charge anything with that for free.
exactly. So ultimately, the goal is to hook up, say, 4 car batteries to a 4 kilowatt inverter, and then use these batteries or cells like this to charge those batteries continuously. So
But you could also go in parallel too and get your amps.
you could go any way you want with these. See, with the Hutchison crystal cell, you
Parallel and
can't go in
series.
series. You can't go in series with the crystal cells. These things you can. You
Hey,
can
Mike,
multiply the voltage.
have you tried using a boost converter with that?
Well, you would need diodes.
Oh yeah,
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 that's
yeah,
awesome.
exactly. Now it's kind of weird too. I did hook this up to the scope at one point, and I was getting a back EMF, which I found kind of really interesting.
That
There was a kickback, and there's no coil in it.
You mean
I wonder what it would do. I wonder what it would do with a boost converter. That's it.
It would work. Or even
you had that kickback with a load or without a load? Was it dead short?
Well, I could do a dead short. It would hold.
Was that kickback during the dead short, or was it with a light or a load or something?
Usually with a light or a load, yeah, I would get a back EMF in it. But what's really interesting is there's no coil in it.
Right, no coil. But yeah,
So,
the light has a little coil in it, you know.
Well,
yeah, this is different though.
Yeah, this
well,
is
everything flies back. All materials. It doesn't have to be a coil. You charge anything in one polarity, you remove that charge, even if it's a flat plate, it's going to reverse charge on you.
Yeah, but there has to be something. There has to be some sort of an inductor there in order to create
anything that's polarizable. You remove your polarity from it, it reverses polarity. It doesn't have to be a coil.
Well, you might be right on that.
No, I recently, I don't know where I saw this or read it, but I picked it up somewhere.
That's actually really cool to know that, because
I don't tend to repeat stuff that I don't, mark down as, affirmative.
See, like if you put these cells under a load, you can draw the power right down to like maybe a half a volt. But the thing is, this light here is 12 volts, and you need 300 milliamps to run it. Okay, so if the cell's totally pulled down, it's totally exhausted. Why is it still working? Right? Why is it still working? It should be dead.
It could be breathing the moisture in the air or something.
Well, if the magnesium plates on the inside are completely oxidized, this cell should be dead.
Well, no, the oxidization will actually be part of the galvanic activity.
Because since the entire surface of the plate is oxidized, usually you lose it. Like most of the potential's gone.
I mean, isn't that the breakdown of the material, the oxidation?
Yeah. It's
the same thing as galvanizing copper and iron. They break it.
The oxidation. It's just corrosion, right?
Right.
But it's still putting out power. It's putting enough power out to run a 300 milliamp light.
Well, oxygen is highly corrosive, Mike. You got to vacuum seal that because oxygen finds a way. I mean, it corrodes just about anything.
Yeah. So
even
that's why I really
zinc. Maybe zinc is not so easily.
Well, see, a lot of magnesium, if you were to shop for it, you can get magnesium that has a mix, say like with zinc in it or aluminum, like an alloy, more of an alloy. That will extend the life of the magnesium.
Mm-hmm.
So I try to go for the purest magnesium I can get. And now the trick is to make that magnesium last. So there's a couple of techniques I'm working on right now that look very promising. So
You know who holds that
hopefully
secret? The ancient samurai builders of those swords. They know how to do that with magnesium and carbon and stuff. They mix carbon, somehow they purify the
it's
carbon or
well
something.
what they do is they dope it. It's like putting a film on it. So I'm coming up with a special film that go over the magnesium, and that will retard or almost completely stop the corrosion process. But the other problem is you got to still make the magnesium reactive. So it has to be able to still transfer, the ions through that medium. So that's what I've been working on. That's kind of like the $6 million question is how to do it. So there's a couple that I'm working on that look very promising. So hopefully when I build the big cell, I'm going to actually use one of those ideas to preserve it, and we'll see what happens.
I mean,
It's,
from what I understand about biology and, not to get into the medical topics and stuff, but magnesium is very potent for energy production for the body.
Yeah, it's one of the highest. Like, you got
It's like the fire. They
cesium,
call it
you
the
got,
fire.
yeah, you have the highest is potassium, calcium, cesium, fluorine, and then magnesium, and it just keeps going down. So unfortunately, potassium is extremely reactive, like explosive.
More than
So
magnesium, huh? Yeah.
Oh
probably.
God, yeah. Oh yeah.
I would
Very
think so.
explosive. So I kind of want to stay away from that for obvious reasons. I want to make a power cell, not a bomb.
It's for your muscles. Your muscles is where all your potassium goes. So
Yeah, you can get potassium in certain things that are more controlled and safer to use. They're out there. Actually, believe it or not, some of the best ones are actually you can get at the hardware store. So yeah, I've been dabbling with a lot of materials, a lot of different chemicals and stuff, and I'm finding out some interesting stuff, and a lot of it you could get at your local hardware store.
I like the idea of zinc and silver.
That's
Yeah,
my favorite.
silver is the most electrically conductive element,
Or
other
zinc
than
and gold.
copper.
Like
Gold, yeah, gold is kind of way out there in price, so
Right.
No,
Just
like-
a wee bit out of our price range, but
Yeah.
it's fun to work with too.
but you could
But-
use a thin wire of gold.
well, gold or I would just go with silver. Silver is the highest rated.
No,
And
but
don't
gold
under
is, gold is the best for like oxidation. Silver oxidizes. Gold does not. Not even the latest.
Oh,
not
gold
even the
oxidizes.
slightest. No, it doesn't.
I
Not even the
oxidize gold.
slightest.
Well, see, if you're going for 24
Silver-
karat gold, it's not really practical because it becomes very soft and it's easy to break. That's the problem with gold. Now, silver, I would definitely use silver. That's actually one element I'm looking into right now. So silver is a definite maybe. So for conductivity, I'm actually trying to work on actually fabricating a plate other than using a graphite, because the graphite plate that I need, it's almost next to impossible to get. It's like all for the military. Like I want to build cells that are 12 by 12. If and if you try to buy that right now for on the consumer market, that's if you can find it. You're looking at about $300 a plate.
Yeah, but they don't need to be that thick. They just need to be firm or whatever.
About an 1/8 inch. Yeah, it's the best one that I've worked with at the small scale is carbon graphite ingot. It's rock hard. It's like ceramic. And if you want to work with small cells, like
What is it about carbon? It just seems to
it holds
create
it holds a charge.
differential for a lot of materials,
Yeah, they're working with carbon a lot in batteries right now because they don't corrode, right?
Right. No, it doesn't
So
corrode.
they
It's
make
just,
they make the ideal anode and cathode. but you have to do a little bit of altering to the anode. It has to have a little bit higher resistance than the cathode. So, like
Right.
creating a cell,
You dope the cathode, right?
right?
Or the anode.
Right. Yeah. So
You dope one side, so
that
the current tends to want to go that direction and not the other way.
yeah, the ideal material to dope it with is silicate carbide, and that has some pretty interesting properties. Actually, they use that in a lot of semiconductors.
Hmm.
So, especially like MOSFETs and stuff like that, they use silicate carbide because of the properties that it
Because
has.
there's carbon in there.
Well, it's carbon. It can handle extreme heat. It's got a really good thermo control.
Carbide.
Yeah, silicate carbide. Yeah,
It's a form of carbon.
yeah. It's just thermo resistant, where a lot of materials can't handle that extreme heat. So, yeah, there's so much to know. It's like I just like my
Yeah, I
eyes are
think they
bugging
make
out of
it
my
by
head.
heating up regular carbon to a certain temperature, and then you got carbide.
Well, all the leading research right now, they're all working with this stuff. They're all working with carbon.
If I were to make materials for like cells, the first thing I would get, Mike, is a kiln, a miniature kiln.
Yeah. Yep. I'm looking into that right now.
You can start melting down, your own materials, your own rocks. You could choose,
Yeah, I'm working on a fabrication process where I actually use an acrylic plate, and then I actually build a substrate on that plate. So, yeah, pretty interesting stuff I'm working on right now.
Boys wanted to say this. Good evening, Mr. Anderson. How's it going, Thomas?
Oh,
I seen on the YouTube a video guy took a pencil, graphite, the graphite inside the pencil, and he turned it into a diode. I think he wrapped aluminum or something on one side.
Yep. So, the other thing that I'm working on, hopefully I'll be selling this stuff. I've come up with a really cool conductive ink or conductive paint.
I'll buy some.
So,
Yeah.
So when
Me three.
yeah,
I'm just waiting for I'm waiting for one material to come in because it's like getting harder and harder to find. It's, the supply chain for some of this stuff is getting really elusive now. Like I've spent
carbon-based material.
Oh God, yeah, carbon. Even getting nanoparticles of silver is not easy to find. Like very few
Jewelry
people have
shops.
it.
You got to go to jewelry shops, get the dust on the floor and all that stuff they sweep up. And
It's
We're an old silver coin and shave it.
Yeah.
or shave your own coin, right?
Just a lot of these materials, like 10 years
That's
ago,
probably the
were
easiest
easy
way.
to get. They were easy to get, and they didn't cost that much. Now they're getting harder to get, and a lot more expensive.
Yeah.
Makes you wonder.
That's the problem.
Those are the kind of things that make you want to go,
Could you use iron pyrite to simulate what gold does in these type of?
I know Hutchison did use iron pyrite in some of his crystal cells. A lot
Was
of
he
people
using it
don't
for
know
the
that.
gold property in there? Because it has like a gold property.
It acts, it has semiconductor properties to it.
What
I
is
know.
that though? It looks like gold,
One
but
of
it's not.
Yeah, it's iron pyrite. Yeah.
Is that not property of gold, or what is it? I mean, why does it look like gold?
Honestly, I really don't know. I haven't researched iron pyrite.
That's a good one for Leonard bought.
But you know what? Yeah.
I don't think anybody
honestly,
knows. That's like a mystery question.
But I think what, Hutchison was definitely using it in his early cells. I know that for a fact. He actually told me that in 2005 when I actually was speaking with him. And iron pyrite. You have to experiment. Like there's so many experiments you can do, and you just have to see what works with each other, what doesn't work, right? That's something that Chat GPT or all these chatbots can't do. You have to experiment. You can get your ideas from there, or at least give you a clue, maybe. But
That's how the
you have to get
semiconductor industry was born. They were experimenting, doping stone. How many years decades did they spend with
exactly,
different doping materials? They're still
exactly.
doing it. They still do it.
Yep. Yeah, but especially with what I'm working with, it's all experimentation.
Hmm.
It really is.
Bedini was said something similar when he was saying put the high voltage potential over the battery to stimulate the chemical in the battery. It's kind of like the same concept when you're doping carbon
See,
for
Bedini's
semiconductor materials, you know.
Bedini's magnesium cell that he made, nobody was using to preserve the magnesium. It's using that stuff you can pick up at the store. It's called alum for pickling, and he would dunk the piece of magnesium into the little cup that he had, copper cup. Put the magnesium there with a steel stem on it, and he would surround it and bury it in alum. So all he had to do is add a little bit of water on top of the alum, and boom, the cell would come to life.
Hmm.
So what makes my cell different from his, if I put my hand on it, it increases the voltage just from the heat of my hand. So there's something else going on there. You've got a thermal conversion going on.
You're not using water either.
No, mine's completely dry.
It's a dry cell
Yeah,
tech.
yeah.
It's a little bit more difficult.
And that might explain too why, even though that my plates have completely oxidized, the cell's still running.
Because you got no water in
So
there.
there's no water at all. The only water that it could be is maybe what's in the
In the air.
atmosphere. Yeah.
I think that's what's running it. Probably the air, you know. But you won't know until
Yeah.
you vacuum seal it.
See, I think, this is kind of predecessor to what Nathan Stubblefield was doing with his earth batteries. Because, he would make a cell using these coils, using iron and copper and, you know, uh, and wrapping it in like this mesh cloth. And then he would just bury it in the ground and the thing would come to life and run and just keep running, right? And that's how he's making his wireless transmitter using the earth battery. So it's like the earth battery was actually part of the actual transmitter itself. So you could say it's almost like it's not like it needs a power source. It's actually integrated as part of the system itself. So, and he was able to transmit, a signal, well, almost a kilometer away.
He used like
So-
a cloth to separate the copper from the iron so it didn't corrode
Exactly.
fast.
Right.
And
Right.
just he didn't give it no water. He just buried it under the ground, let the
That's
ground
right.
moisture get in there.
Yeah, exactly. But I think the craziest part of all is the distance he was able to transmit. Like he had a very large farm, and he would send his
Well,
son
it's
to the
AC.
other
It was
side of the
AC.
farm.
The coil was putting out AC, right? The coil, the Stubblefield coil.
No, I think it's a DC, but it might have been pulsing.
No,
You
it's
never know.
galvanic. It's galvanic. It's AC. It's galvanic, so it's like AC. I think it's not really DC, but it can become DC. I mean,
Well, the energy obviously is coming from the ground itself.
I know this. It's an AC waveform that if you tied it to a battery, the battery would convert it to DC.
Yeah, it's kind of like a pulse DC that I've been working with my pulse motors forever because I could run an AC appliance with it or put it into a DC appliance. It doesn't matter. It's like a
So you think the
hybrid,
signal off
right?
a galvanized signal is a pulse DC? signal.
I would, yeah, I would say that. Yep, because
But
if
not
you
a
go into
clean
either or,
DC. It's like a spike or whatever.
it's probably cycling on the natural Earth currents.
Looking like a distortion signal.
Interesting.
You know, a distortion signal. It looks like it's. You never seen
What is that?
a distortion signal? You've never seen a distortion signal on an
Well,
oscilloscope?
distortion. I thought you said sourcing. I'm like, what's going on here?
Distortion, like from
Oh, it's my ears.
like a a guitar pedal effect. Distortion that it creates
Okay.
all that static. That's a bunch of spikes in there. That could be
Yeah, because
what
you
the
have
galvanic.
to.
That's what I think a galvanic signal would look like coming from a corroding two opposing metals. You know.
Yeah,
It would,
because back in those days they didn't really have much radio going on back then, so I couldn't see it picking up a
I don't think
radio
it's a
signal
clean
in the air.
sine wave or nothing, but it's probably dirty AC. If any, is what I'm trying to say. Distorted AC.
Dirty AC, huh?
I don't think DC it would become that very easily into any DC device because of the way it's not a clean AC in the first place.
Yeah, I think it's just resonant Earth frequency that's going into that cell as
So,
well.
guys, I have to take off, but I wanted to show you something really quick. Can I present? See if this will work.
Absolutely.
All right.
Yes, please.
I don't want to present my ugly mug here.
Too late. Just kidding.
It's your camera. Hopefully this
We've got
works.
questions. What's on your whiteboard? There we go.
I can't remember. Wait, this is share screen. Okay, so
There you go.
yeah. Where is it? Window. Why isn't it showing up?
Oh, I think you added an extra camera instead of adding a shared screen, maybe.
Okay, so
Yep.
I suck at this. Give me a sec.
You're learning. We're all learning. It's all good.
Okay, so now I go present and I go share screen. Let's see.
Might be under window instead of tab.
Yeah, it's a picture.
I've been using it for 3 years. I still suck.
Oh, you can't get the link to the. I did send you the link if that's what you're talking about, Jeremiah.
No, that's good there. No.
I had good luck with those alum batteries and the crystal cells. They
Sorry,
still
guys.
work.
Give me a sec.
Well, yeah, the alum works good. It actually protects and preserves the magnesium.
It protects the
That's
lead
what-
plates too. It doesn't
Yeah.
harm them.
Yeah, it's a preservative. They use it for pickling and stuff like that. You can pick it up at your local bulk bar.
Okay, here we go.
And,
It's a hell of a lot less toxic than hydrochloric
Oh.
acid.
oh, exactly.
Ooh, under a microscope.
Yep. This is the rock that I put that video out on. It's under 1,000 times microscope.
Nice.
And there's all kinds of, I don't know what you'd call it, toluene. I don't know if I'm even pronouncing that right. But the different colors that are in this, when Mike brought up iron pyrite, I believe there is some in here. I'm just trying to get it focused. Can you see that? I believe that this
Like a
came.
silver gold. Looks like
Yeah.
silver gold.
I believe this came from a kimberlite tube. And I'm 95% sure I know where there's a diamond mine.
Did you ever put a magnet up to it? Does it stick to a magnet?
What's Kimberlake tube?
Does it stick to it? No, but I've knocked some off and had it on a paper and put the magnet underneath the paper, and the paper, I was able to move a whole bunch of it around. Not all of it, but a whole bunch of it.
Part of it could have been a meteorite.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that because this rock is strange in the way that it looks.
That's how they usually search for, fallen meteorites. If they know it hit the ground, they go out there with a magnet, and that's kind of a sign that if it's metallic, it's going to stick to the magnet, or the magnet will stick to the rock. Sorry, and that's how they can kind of zoom in and try to locate the meteorite.
Yeah, as you can see, it's got a unique structure. So,
Is it very heavy?
oh yeah, extremely. I'll see if I could show it here. I'll switch cameras.
That's
I think it's
Stop
called
there.
I wonder if there's lead in it.
Okay.
vitrification.
So-
Yeah, where it like literally turns to glass.
did look a little vitrified.
This thing-
almost.
I haven't weighed it,
Wow, that's a big
wow.
piece.
but you can
Not a
see it's.
meteorite? Or something? No, crystal.
Well, I inherited it, so it might be. But I can tell you, it's heavy enough to pull my shoulder out if I keep holding it.
I believe that.
And what you saw was the magnification of this rock.
You're showing our rocks tonight, man.
Really? Hey, that's super interesting. I guess that would explain the vitrification then with if it was a meteorite.
Well, either it's a
Ooh.
meteorite or it comes from a kimberlite tube, which means that it would have those striations because it's being pushed up through the whole tube. A kimberlite tube is basically an old volcano that has been dormant, and because of the pressures and everything, there's minerals that have been made, and emeralds and diamonds and rubies, and all sorts of things. So I believe I might have found one. It's going to take some money to go prove it, though.
Right?
Yeah.
Questions, are they magnetic, either of those rocks?
That big rock, if I crush a piece off, it'd be partially magnetic. But the rock itself, it won't hold the magnet. So I don't know. Maybe it's got iron pyrite in it a little bit. And if that's the case, that's also an indication that it could be from a kimberlite tube. Something to be tested for sure.
Absolutely.
Mike Does has got a rock too.
Can you see the green? It's green.
Oh yeah, that looks cool.
Olivine.
That's green, not black. Or I don't know how you see it, though.
Could be olivine if it's looking like green olivine.
What is it?
Olivine, which is like a type of
Copper?
copper oxide or copper compound, copper silicone compound.
Yeah, that's in.
White. There's white in it too.
You find that in marble, eh? Olivine.
Yep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
white quartz.
Yep. Quartz in it.
Right. That's quartz, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Type quartzite for sure.
And why is the copper there?
Silicone in that.
See, Earth is full of copper.
It certainly is. Copper, silicone, silver.
Gotta love Thomas's suggestions. He's always just on it, eh?
Absolutely. And
That
welcome
rock's from
home.
Bulgaria.
Well, how's it going?
How's
Dietrich.
everybody?
Hey, how's it going, man?
Hello, who is this?
We got Hans back.
How you doing?
Doing well. How are you?
Famous or
Oh, I recognize you. You were on Bernie's stream.
Yeah, Woo Wednesday on a Thursday into Friday. Now we're back on Friday.
Now back
So
on Saturday.
Awesome.
Nice.
Dude, we got the whole family here now. I love
lots
it.
of good info
Das
on
Gut.
Yeah.
lots of good info. Amazing.
Oh, yeah.
now that
I
we
got
got
the
Hans,
multimeters hooked
That's
up as
Hans.
well.
Hans can tell his story again about what he saw with at it was Nassim Haramine's Resonance Academy.
Oh,
He
Lord.
was in Hawaii there. And then if you tell that story, it'll bait Jeremiah on for sure because, well, he's watching and has the link and definitely
Well,
come
it's the
happily
same
about
story
that.
I always tell. So I was invited to the Resonance Project in 2013 on Kauai. It pretty much was a huge lecture series at a hotel. Nassim wasn't there until the last day. It was mostly Jamie Janover. But there were a lot of people there that brought their own devices. And one of them was this octagon-shaped scaffolding. It was like 3D printed, and it was wrapped with, fifth, I'm not sure the dimensions of the copper coiling, but it was wrapped and interwoven with this copper coiling around the entire scaffold. And in the middle of it were the two trodes that came off of both sides of the wrapping, and they connected to what looked like the trodes for a 9-volt battery. And the dude plugged the battery in, and the thing lifted off the table, spun up. It created that auric light that's white but has every color involved in it for a fraction of a second because it was crackling, and then it dropped back down on the table. And so it's like, okay, this is laboratory bench. What can we do with much more voltage and larger specimens? And so it was very fascinating to see this.
You're gonna have to draw out some dimensions of it, what you remember, because you do give a little bit more detail each time.
It's about a little over 2 feet wide, 1.5 wide, wrapped. It was a octagonal shape and made out of some sort of polymer. This is why I thought it was 3D printed, but it was just a scaffolding, and so the wire was wrapped and woven around the entire thing. From what I remember of it.
Interesting.
That's really
But
cool.
It shot up, so it was like levitating.
It shot up off the table about 4 or 5 feet, levitated, spit off colors, crackled, and then once the power drained from it, it landed back on the table with a unspectacular crash. But the fact that it was this very minimally powered copper coil device, I thought was incredibly fascinating. So,
Well, it was a torrid. It was like a vortex coil.
that's what I would expect. Yeah.
It's focusing the magnetic field into a small area.
Sure.
That has an effect on the atmosphere.
Would it create this kind of effect? I'm not.
Pressure.
This isn't my area of expertise. I just witnessed this thing.
It would create a pressure field.
Okay.
The light
that field would have barriers between, the pressure from above coming down, or all around, not just above. The pressure from all around.
Like a torrid, exactly.
Creating your own pressure field.
Yeah.
That's what I was about to ask, if it was geometrically formed.
It's a very small field because it's narrow. It's focusing it in a very small point. That's where all the energy is.
So it doesn't need a lot of energy for lift, I presume, based on that.
The Schauberger thing, he uses displacement of mass.
Right.
When you spin the disc, it has, how do I say this? It's got less mass on one end because it's gradually adding mass to the other. And if you, in that way, when it spins, the mass ratio of the disc is not even,
Sure.
It's displacing, it's doing its best effort in displacing, the mass on the disc. It looks like the swirl.
Mike, if we all knew how it worked, we'd all be flying by now. So I get what you're saying, brother.
It's not a perfect swirl either.
We're working on it. You know what I mean? I
saw that device running on a video. He spin it, and it lifted up.
There's a TT Brown video that's very similar. It's a very different device, but it's very similar where it has this auric effect, lifts off the table.
I've seen another device.
And it was different colors.
I can't explain today.
Sorry, what?
It was different colors.
It's this. If you ever read Terry Pratchett's book, he calls it the color of magic, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's this Octavian color, but it's like white, but it has the hints of the rainbow in it.
It's white because of the hints of the rainbow,
right? Because they're all overlapping in light spectrum, which creates the bright white light.
Yeah.
So, no, exactly. So that's
very interesting.
That's what I've noticed with these devices. Anyway, sorry.
Was it like a bubble that you saw, or was it more of a torrid?
Myself,
Yeah, like
I didn't see
Describe-
any effect to it. It was just the device lifting up. But because it was this copper interwoven copper, it had this auric effect. That's the only way I can explain it.
okay, fair enough.
Or a fraction, it was crackling and creating a static. I mean, static
Yeah.
electricity has this similar light to it. So
Oh yeah, I understand.
Yeah.
about that. Yeah. I play with it all the time.
anyway, sorry, Mike. Go back.
Yeah, I'm
There's
sorry,
this
Mike. I
bird.
didn't mean to cut you off.
There's this bird model toy thing, it's weighted very peculiar, where all the weight is at the nose of the bird. But it's a full sculpture of a bird, right? And you put the tip of the bird in your finger, and it just floats right there. It don't fall down like it
Right.
should.
Yep.
So you can't find that in the U.S., but I've seen it, and I can't explain this, but it's displacing matter, or weight, or mass.
Or it's focalizing it into a point, which is
Right.
Yeah,
You could do that with like 2 forks and a knife.
correct.
Same thing. Yeah.
Huh? Two
Like-
forks and a knife.
Yeah. If you
That
like,
that balance effect, and then you can basically balance two forks that are interconnected.
No, I'm
on-
talking about a whole bird, and I'm holding the
Yeah, I
nose of
had
the
one
bird
when I
here,
was-
and it's balancing
one
on
when
my
I was a
finger.
kid. Yeah, I know what
It's
you're
not
exactly
falling
talking
down. It's balancing on the nose.
about. Because
like
the
that.
weight is distributed. The weight is where the wings are, and it's using.
It's not even slipping on my finger. I'm talking
Yeah,
about
I had
the
one
nose
as a
of the
kid,
bird.
so yeah, I
It
know
doesn't
exactly.
slip at all.
Yeah.
You try to make it fall. It doesn't fall.
Yeah, I know.
It's the oddest thing I've ever seen. I tried to. The person that I was visiting had one, and only one, and I tried to find out where she got it. It was from China somewhere.
You go to the dollar store, they have it. They have it at the dollar store.
Really? You're
They
kidding
have
me.
it at the, I swear to God, I've seen it.
No, I'd never go there. That's probably.
Yeah, they have it at
I gotta
the
go
dollar
there.
store. If I find it, I'll buy a bunch and yeah. But they
You
have-
mean the bird thing that doesn't fall off your finger?
yeah, it's like the beak.
It will balance on. I know exactly what you're talking
I
about.
think
Yeah.
Schauberger is using that right there. That
So.
In the
Randall
in the reverse,
Carlson
though.
recently has kind of admitted to some of Schauberger's technology being produced in Malaysia or the Maldives, I believe. And so it'd be interesting to see what actually comes out of this new collective, because Schauberger's work was amazing. The fish does not swim, it's swum. The bird does not fly, it's flown. This is a very fascinating concept, and it deals with dynamics pretty much. Fluid dynamics of sorts. Anyway,
Sure.
like when you sail
agree.
against the wind and you still go forward.
yeah. I mean, I've swum with turtles. Turtles will just float there in the current. They're not doing anything, but I'm moving with the current, and they're not. And then they'll just do one paddle, one blade, and they're gone. And you're like, what? Shit, what did
Yeah,
I just witness?
Barracudas. You ever seen barracuda move?
Turtles was the most
They're like a
fascinating thing to
torpedo
watch
at
swim,
high speed.
because you try and keep up with them, they're just going whoop, and they're gone, and you're like, what? How is that even possible? But it is, because they're using, some sort of
Fluid
navigational
dynamics.
buoyancy technique that we don't have, obviously.
Very cool. Schauberger was using 99-cent store birds, huh?
Somehow he figured out to displace matter on a disc and spin it in a way that displaced matter would create lift. And it's not that complicated. It's just you got to get the displacement accurate and tune it correctly.
I don't know if it's matter. I think he was just charging it. It was just basically
No.
doing rotation
It was
for
a
a big
disc,
charge.
no power. No power, sir. Zero. Just a disc.
Oh, you don't need a power source.
With weight, with blobs of solid brass shaped like a swirl of ice cream, kind of. No power. You'd spin it, and the weight, it loses weight, for one. And you spin it fast enough, it comes off the table. Very interesting. He did a lot of things with water too.
So this is interesting because this gets into some of my research around Peru and Egypt, and so you have all these ancient sites that have these astronomically large, 50 to 70 to 80 to even 100-ton blocks that are being moved across waterways or through waterways or with waterways. And the question is, obviously, if you create a silt spew that's pressurized, you have something that can cut almost, if not more accurately than diamond. And so a lot of these ancient sites, strangely, are next to major water sources. And I've often wondered if there is a connection there with technology that we're not even considering today, because all of our technology is explosive based. And, in the past, they could have been using air, water, salt water. I mean, all sorts of things that we are just now trying to figure out. Oh, wow. Well, we've blown the planet up. Let's figure out how to rehydrate it,
Well, with the right system, you can use water as a ground wire.
As a what? Sorry?
As a ground wire.
Oh,
so you
okay.
can transfer energy between places long distances, providing you have the right high voltage and the right system operating. So if you're using like back EMF, which is like a negative form of energy, so they say, you can theorize to what it is. You could call it back electromagnetic force. You could call it the current from the system. Call it whatever you want. But I found a way where you can run it through a tube where the water acts as the ground line, or you can run it in a river. Now, in a river, you only get so far because it's not clean, and there's lots of different materials that are stopping that energy transfer, but it's pretty interesting. So I believe that the old systems literally used water to transfer energy between each site. And because of we could get into the theory of the pyramids being a whole power plant, of course, but that's just the theory.
Christopher Dunn's work is fascinating. Yeah.
Yes, I agree. I covered Christopher Dunn on a chapter in Divine Science. His explanation of the pyramids is absolutely one of the most incredible from an engineering perspective. It made me realize, these hallways, they're not meant to be accessible,
No.
Well, especially if you're in the subterranean, you realize that there is massive amounts of water pouring through there. All the different elements in there are just washed away by water that's come up through the well shaft. And of course, you can't go down the well shaft. If you look at any of the diagrams, they don't tell you about the well shaft, but it goes down at least 3 different layers that have tunnels going off in different directions. And you can look down and go, oh, well, there they are. I've been there twice. So that's the most fascinating part of the pyramid, because you're deep, you're 500 feet under the bedrock. And when you climb down the dead-end shaft, it's about 65 feet to the end of it. It might be less, but it's only, a yard or a meter by a meter, and you're clawing your way across bedrock that's just chipped away. And if you don't have knee pads or anything, you're shredding your knees. But the whole way down, the ceiling is it's like a half-inch layer thick of salt, and people have carved their names and the whole 9 yards into it. And it's like, where's this salt coming from? Right? It's like, what's up with the salt deposits? And then you get to the end of it, and it's cemented off, and there's a hole drilled through it. So obviously it's not dead-end shaft, but that's what they call it. But you're down there, and you stop, and you turn off your torch, and you're there meditating by yourself. The 2 tours I've been on, that's the first place I built to once they opened it up after the King's Chamber. I'm going down there. I'll do the King's Chamber after, the Queen's Chamber after, but I usually want to go down there first. And I'll just sit down there for 5 to 15 minutes and meditate. And it gets so incredibly loud, but you're not hearing anything. It's all internal. It's interesting.
Really?
Yeah.
Vibration.
Yeah.
Well, because you know why? Because you're in such a silent place.
Right. But it's just like,
Yeah, because you start hearing the biology now. You're in a silent place.
It's amazing. Especially after doing, toning.
You have to tune out your own heartbeat somehow.
So the King's Chamber tones at F, the box, or F sharp, the box tones at A. So if you're in the box and you're toning and everybody else in the room is toning, you're enveloped in this weird bubble, and you feel like you're having an out-of-body experience. That's the only way I can describe it. Plus, being in the King's Chamber, you're surrounded by that much thick granite. You don't feel the world around you. You feel like you're in the middle of a void in the universe. It's kind of, this is a machine. This is not. Yeah.
I think I probably had to go there before I die.
Everybody should. I must make pilgrimage to Egypt. Do it, please.
Yes, we're definitely gonna
I'm gonna
go.
have to live
Mike.
long enough to get there.
Bernie and I have talked about this. We want to do a crew and get a bunch of us. I know people that do tours there, so we can definitely get a good good price and go to some amazing sites.
Yes,
we
are going to be doing that.
And get private access, and that's the key.
I'll send a coil with you. You turn it on, and I'll just
You
be
will
there.
bring the coil with you, Gerald.
Turn it on. We just need to hold it in the air. It turns on.
That's what I mean. You got to open a door so I can come. I mean, what are we talking about?
Hey,
that'd be great. Hey, speaking of coils, if anybody's wondering what I'm doing, I'm trying to rewind the small one so it's actually usable.
Now the gloves make sense.
Yeah. So that's what I'm doing. It's a long process. I use it
a little more.
It's just a donut with the grooves. It's very hard to wind, but I do it as a meditation. It relaxes me trying to wind these things.
So it's this kind of winding, that was on that device. Obviously, it wasn't
a PoE coil.
Yes, this is a mini. This is a tiny one.
Yeah, the mini. You're making.
It's got 4 wires. Yeah, it's got 4 wires by Fowler, so we'll be able to do 2 channels.
What are you going to use?
So do you 3D print these and then wind them up, or?
Some people send me the frames. I actually printed this one a while ago using a service that I found locally.
Scored. Wow. All right.
Honestly, this I didn't expect to be this small, but it was a surprise. I screwed up. I'm like, oh, it's a mini. We'll run with it, guys. We'll make it work.
Nice.
Yeah, you're in a room full of coil builders.
Yeah.
There should be on the.
I ordered one online.
Scale function.
It's funny. After I went to the movies with my cousin on Sunday, we went and saw Alien Romulus. The 3 of us, my good friend George, my cousin, and
so
I.
Good.
Man, people must be deaf these days. It was so loud in that theater. Oh my god.
It was actually I've been in the theater before that I seen Romulus at, and it was pretty well mastered. I think it was the track. Whoever produced that movie is a good movie, but they made some parts really. Great. Yeah, they made some parts really loud though. Sometimes they don't pay attention to the DB.
This is every movie. I have a home theater, and it's the same thing. I got to turn it up and adjust it every time I watch the movies. But it was crazy. Yeah. It was an amazing movie. I went into it, with a little bit of hesitation. I'd seen some spoilers, but I'm like, I'm gonna just see it for what it is, and create my own ambience around it. But
So I got a quick question, and then I got to take off. It was awesome talking to you, by the way, Hans.
Yeah, thank
you. Have you seen anything like this inside the pyramid?
Not inside pyramids, no.
No?
What about like the Mandelas? It kind of looks like it could be a Mandela.
It definitely looks like some of the Mandelas. That is very nice work, Gerald.
I know. I like how he has it preserved in that resin.
That's super
nice. That way.
What you need to do.
Is it just sitting in it, or is it sunk into it?
No, it's sunk into it. It's part of the coil itself.
All right.
That way it can't be torn apart.
Does that affect any output?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Gives me a little bit extra. And if you can
have to
bubbles in here that I've just recently found, the lighting may not allow you to see it. I'm not sure. Oh, can you see all those little
if you fire that up, will it heat the resin up and crack it? I mean, there is a crack.
No, it doesn't get hot.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah, it runs cold, this system. It's a little different than most. It has
to get
not my area of expertise.
Nano coat it next time before doing.
Where I was going with the cousin story real quick is he's got a bench in his uncle's basement, or my uncle's basement, that has 2 Tesla coils at both ends, and they use it for healing. And he's like, dude, come over and use the table again.
Nice.
So,
Oh, don't.
Nathan's a
talk about
Tesla
that.
coil guy. He's good at it. He's got like 3 or 4 in the background sitting there.
No, that's
well, we talked about this briefly on
Nathan's got
one of the
Tesla
last
coils hidden in
shows.
holes.
But yeah, no,
Everywhere.
I'm now tempted to go back over because I
Got
remember the
thousands of
first
Tesla
time I
coils.
used the table. It was amazing. So.
Yeah, don't talk about any medical stuff on here. We're not.
Oh no,
endorsing
we're all
any-
good.
get in trouble for that.
Oh, Hans well of
I got
nowhere.
like 50 solenoids in.
I'm talking about a
boxes.
table that I lay on. That's
Yeah, a massage table, guys. It's a massage table.
Speaking of which, I'm going to
Put
go
on
take
a little
off.
discretion there. Viewers,
I'll see you later, Gerald.
so helpful.
Good. I'm going to go get a massage, okay? So
Yeah. No, massage
guys-
sounds good right now.
you guys have a great night. It's been awesome.
Happy
Thanks
Labor
for
Day.
bringing me
Much
on.
love and
Good
respect,
meeting you, Hans. Hopefully we'll talk again.
appreciate it.
thanks,
You too.
Gerald.
Thanks.
Later, Bernie. See you, Marty.
Bye.
Lulu. Bye, Lulu.
I've been for the past hours like carpooling kids, from the mall to their houses and their friends, and like it's just. But I've been listening to the show. So I've been cutting in and out. Yeah.
Glad to have you. And
I've tried shows from the car. I was driving from Portland down to Shasta, and wow, it was cutting in and out. It was kind of crazy. I had to go somewhere that had a Wi-Fi and just sit in their parking lot.
Yeah, but finally,
So,
they all left the house. They all are. They're all like, yeah, I've got the place to myself.
if you can
Nice.
see that, this is the
Yes,
problem with
begins.
doing these
Nice.
donut coils. I try to use UV light glue, but I don't have it today. I use super glue, and see, I got some of the glove stuck to the wire there.
Yeah.
If you're ever trying to do this, anybody, I do recommend UV light glue because it's easier to work with.
Nice.
Wouldn't you wrap it
That actually
before
happened
you
to me once.
glued it? Couldn't you wrap it tight enough so that you didn't need the glue?
You could, but honestly, you have to be very careful because one wrong move and you loosen up just the right. Like you have
Right.
to keep a good grip on it. You loosen it up,
Sure.
and the whole thing just unwinds if it's not in there tight.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's very difficult, but I mean, like I said, it's a slow process. You use it. I use it for like meditation. If I need to relax, I'll just wind one of these coils.
Do you have a hot glue
Because
gun?
it forces you into a focus.
That's funny. I fold origami, so it's very similar.
Yeah, exactly. You did it. Yeah.
Start
my
making
OCD, right? Yeah.
You need a hot glue gun, Ben.
Yeah. Oh, actually, I could use my hot glue gun. That's a good idea.
Temporarily, you can just because you could pull the glue off later. You know,
Yeah. No, that's a good idea. I think I'll try that.
it dries fast too.
I do have the multimeters hooked up if anybody wants to take a look at them, but other than that, I don't really have
Yeah.
anything else for the stream. We can just go off the
Absolutely.
cuff or improvise at this point.
Well, in the title there is, the bait of a demo of the free energy, and it being Free Energy Friday, and you have it set up. Why not?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do it.
Oh, now it all makes sense.
All right. I think I got a
Is
little on
that
my.
your other screen there I should highlight?
Yes. So highlight the Rodin coil, and I'll be over there heading to the mini lab in a second.
Wow, what's that? That's fascinating.
Oh, there's some real science about to happen right here.
Real science.
You'll like it, Bernie. We saw it earlier. It's really
I haven't been in a lab in like 3
Oh, yeah.
years, 4 years. My own lab, 5 years.
I bought a digital microscope so I could look at my pieces from Egypt, but other than that,
Ooh, that's what we got to do next Wednesday then, is hook that up and take a look, Mr. Hahn.
uh-oh. All right. Well, damn, now I gotta figure it out again.
There you go.
You need more table space, Ben.
I took a bunch of photos. I'll have to find them. Yeah. Because my friend that I was in Egypt with challenged me. He's like, dude, I've been doing this under a microscope. We're trying to find, how a piezoelectric effect would go through these. I'm like, they're plates, man. They're just plates. But the piece I have is from a plate that's probably 1 meter wide. It's just a small chunk, but if you
All right.
look at the radius, it actually has that to it. So I'd be interested. Yeah, sure.
So if you can see here, we're at 800 hertz. We're in the resonance range. 0.037 amps on the input. 0.38 on the output, so slightly higher on the output. But you can see, and I'll measure the voltage in a second, and you'll see the voltage is actually increased on the output, which is why this is lighting up and spinning, and why this one isn't doing a dang thing.
What is the output of what? Sorry.
So the output is the
it's this coil in the middle. Okay, gotcha.
Yes. So the input is not hooked up to the coil at all. It's hooked up to the left channel of the stereo amp receiver. It's just getting the same amount of power, basically.
Sure. Your control.
Yes, my control. And it's something visual you can see happening instead of just numbers, which, you know, I think people need to see at this point, especially people who are more layman to this idea of free energy or skeptical.
Neither, but I am kind of layman in some degrees. Yeah.
But at any rate, you know, this is a good demonstration, and I'll show you the voltage in a second here.
393. Wow.
So as you can see, we have maintained our current, slightly increasing it actually. Sorry, I hit the power button. There we go. And the voltage on the input is 2 volts.
Your camera is tilted to the floor.
Oh, my bad. Can you see it now?
Oh.
Is that upside down?
Yeah, I can see that. It's a coil in the middle, right?
Oh, weird.
Or,
yeah, cut out.
it's a little dark, but.
It cut out? Hold on 1 second.
Oh, yeah, I think it froze. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is freezing. Freeze frame.
There we go.
All right.
There we go.
That's all better.
We're back.
So you can see I switched it to the volts.
Yep.
And 2 volts going in.
DC or AC?
This is AC. And 3.4 volts, because you can see the frequency at the top. See, it's picking up the frequency. When it measures the current, it can't pick up the frequency for some reason.
So that's coming out of the coil.
Yes.
Wow.
So it's maintaining the current and increasing the voltage output. And that's why we see this lighting up and spinning. And again, this one isn't doing a damn thing. But if I switch this from 800 hertz, you'll see the reference circuit actually start to do something if I increase the power enough, while this one on the output doesn't really do. It flips, right? It switches.
You mean
So are you pumping energy into it on the left side through the control or not? That's just.
Yes.
Okay,
So the way a stereo
you're saying when you go to 800 hertz, it switches to the greater load.
So the way a stereo amp
you have 2 loads, right? One is a greater and one's a lesser.
But they're not connected. So the way the stereo amp receiver works is there's one channel for right and one channel for left. The reference circuit has got the left channel, and the coil circuit has got the right channel, but they're not connected. They're just getting the same amount of power. Like, think of a speaker.
Yeah.
Your speakers are going to be getting the same amount of power, and then it lets the software adjust the volume.
Correct. Yep. Got it.
So, and you can see, once I turn up the gain a little bit here, this fan will start spinning.
All right, the fan's a bigger load than a light is.
So you can see the fan's not spinning on the output because it's not getting enough power. Look at the voltage, 3.1 on the input,
Wow.
1.3 on the output. Obviously, it's not getting enough power,
Right.
So it's outside its resonance range, meaning if we resonate the load at 800 with this system, 800 hertz, we're going to get more energy out than we put in.
Right.
I don't know about you guys. That's absolutely phenomenal. I think that's incredible.
No, that's huge.
And it's
building energy on its input, which is amazing. It's like,
Yeah, this
yeah,
experiment should be taught in schools, in my opinion. You know, like this needs to be spread
It
around,
will
guys. If
be,
you,
and that's what you're doing right now, Ben. You're
yeah,
teaching it to the world. We're
I
sharing.
do have a
It's
yeah, I
nice.
do have a do-it-yourself guide. If anybody wants to try to replicate this stuff, and I suggest you do. If you have any questions, reach out. But it's very simple. It's not hard to set up. You know, I'm not an expert in any of this. That's why I come here for your guys' expertise.
I'm just an
So
observer, but I
when
love
you
what I
know
observe.
the frequency increases, so does your power consumption and your load, your
Yeah,
ability to consume power or
and
use the power.
the current usually is based on the. I think the current is based on the load in these systems. So
Right.
you know,
Well,
you put
whatever
more
your
load
load
on.
is, it can pull that much power, or it can pull no more than what it's able to pull.
Right. It's absolutely fascinating. And I love messing with the system. The next phase is going to be introducing a Bedini circuit to it, seeing if we can, you know, charge a battery with a battery.
Super curious. What is the coil made out of?
So the coil itself is a bifilar. It's got magnetic enameled wire, 24 gauge.
Okay.
And basically, I take a enameled wire, run it from one pole to another 24 times. So it produces 24 wires. Then I wind the coil with, you know, twisting that up, wind the coil with that. And then I put 2 channels in series, 12 wires in one channel and the other 12 in the other channel. So basically you're producing 2 coils in this one design. You have a 1-to-1 ratio transformer, essentially, is what that is. It's the simplest explanation.
But you're able to build power on that. That's impressive. That's really
Yes, by all conventional means, this should not happen. 1-to-1 transformer ratios should not exist if you're going based off of academia, right? You have to have an asymmetry there for the transference of energy.
Well, that is, you have a point there.
The Q is silent in quackademia, but
so regardless of the numbers of the output being more than the input, just having the voltage increase, regardless of the current.
So your gauges are the same,
Yeah.
right? Okay.
It's super big. And I'm not doing anything special. I'm just doing what other people have done, you know?
So your primary is getting 2 volts and your secondary is getting 3.5, and they're exactly the same wire thickness and length and everything.
Yes. And what it is mostly about, and this is my opinion, this is just my theory, but about the combination of the right frequency, you know, resonance, and the geometry, right? The field geometry of the coils compressing on top of each other in such a way where you actually produce a pseudo monopole.
Right, a 1-to-1 transformer shouldn't do that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely not. And that's why I try to tell people. They're like, "Oh, your multimeters are wrong," or blah blah blah. And like, regardless of what the multimeters are saying,
is this with or without the magnet?
This is there's no magnet in the center of this one,
and you still get 3.5 out.
Mm-hmm. And the coolest part is, and I'll do this in a second, we're going to do the Nunez method where I crisscross the output. And,
you know, the primary is being pulsed, stimulated per se. And the secondary is picking up on that stimulation along with whatever else is in the environment. That's the best way I can explain it.
Yeah, we're gonna hook it up this way, which is the Nunez method, the open
There's
circuit
all kinds
method.
of radiation in the environment. Your light bulb on the ceiling, your fan running.
There are environmental effects for sure.
Even the sun or the moon or the ocean waves are a form of radiation. The ground has its own radiation. The stones, everything radiates at some level.
This thing in your pocket has its own radiation.
Right, the plastic rubber on your tire. It's all radiating. Everything has a frequency. All the colors have a frequency, and therefore you have just solid state oscillations in the matter itself.
That's why I was curious what the material is made from. That's really fascinating. Thanks for
Well, they're just 2 copper windings, the same length, same gauge, and he's getting 2 on the input and getting 3 on the output. That doesn't add up because if you wanted to step up the voltage, you would have the secondary would have more turn or more length of wire than the first wire. So the first wire would receive 2
would
volts.
it-
If you wanted the 3 volts on the second wire would have to be longer than the first wire. That's the fundamentals of transformers. If you want to bring the voltage up, he's not doing that. His wires are exactly the same length. He's still getting an extra volt on the second wire. I know that sunk in
That was
slowly,
my
but it's
curiosity
there.
with the metals of the mesh. That was why I was asking about that.
What, the mesh?
Yeah, it's not just copper. There's
mesh in there, Ben?
no. The weaving of the wires. The wires.
No, they're all
The
copper.
meshing of the copper wires. Yes, the
It's
way
not
it's
just
wound.
copper. That's what he was saying. Yeah.
The frame
It-
holding it is just a plastic frame.
It's
It has-
No. I'm talking about the wires themselves.
They're copper. They're insulated with enamel coating, so they don't.
So that's the question: is that enamel coating having a resonance effect?
It's just insulating the wires from touching each other and shorting each other out.
Hmm.
Because then you wouldn't have the effect.
But for the actual resonance of the whole unit, you would have to add that atomic mass in to the frequency.
Well, if the
believe
wires
that's
are
correct.
shorting out, you're not going to be able to send an electron from one end of the wire to the other. They're gonna
I
short
got you,
out.
Mike. We're just what Hans is saying for like the mass of the actual resonance of the coil to get it into coherence with the resonant frequency, it would then be the mass of the copper wires as well as the
Right.
coating.
That makes sense.
Well, that was my
The
only
mass of the
curiosity.
copper.
Is there another effect happening with the coating? Because the coating has other micrometals and magnetic metals within it. So
No, the coating is no metals. They're
Coating is
insulated.
straight
I-
insulated. Straight insulated.
I thought what he had said earlier there was other materials involved. So I'll
The
just-
enamel coating is a pure insulator.
don't know.
No conductive properties at all.
Okay, interesting.
That's the whole goal of insulating it with that, to keep the wires from conducting to each other, so that you can make them close to each other without
and
conducting,
then put them into that vortex geometry, which then creates
without needing a plastic, like a regular plastic
Right.
shield over a
Sure.
regular wire, and you want it to have more turns in a smaller space. You need to get rid of that plastic housing. It's just going to make a bigger space with that on there, right? So they figured out a way to insulate wires with just a thin coating, which is ingenious. It really revolutionized
Thank you. Had no
the whole
idea.
thing.
Yeah, no, this actually makes a lot more sense.
I don't know how far back that goes either. Honestly, someone should do a full report on that whole thing with the enamel coating copper wires, when it all even started and everything. Because
Probably when they needed to re-insulate the telegraph wires, I'd imagine.
Yeah, right. Like it goes way back. They used to do
Probably
it with
80
paper,
years or
and
more.
that caused
the
lots of
solar
fires and
outburst,
stuff.
shit, we need to re-insulate this. What do we do? Enamel. Hey, what do you know? There's no
it's
conductivity.
definitely not a new technology. I don't think. It's not too new.
Ben, you still
I
there?
don't think it's going to go away either. It's a perfect way
Yes,
to insulate wires.
I got the Nunez method hooked up. I'm trying to tune into the exact resonant frequency, but it is almost there at 10 times the voltage output. You see, it's in millivolts, so it's a very small amount. But you'll see with the Nunez method, it's actually increasing the volt. Like it's not 1 to 2 like in the regular stereo method I was using earlier, right? This is crisscrossing the output channel of the coil, where the input of channel B on the coil is actually, as you can see, the negative of the load, and then the positive of channel B is hooked up to the start. I'm sorry, the negative is hooked up to the start. So it's crisscrossed. You see the yellow and the black are crisscrossed. And right now we are resonating at a really a higher frequency range, and I can only go up so high with this. You can see it's almost at the end, but there's a pocket of energy here at 200 hertz, 20,200 hertz, and the voltage is significantly increased. So you have 15 millivolts on the input and 64 millivolts on the output. That's way more than double. And if I tune in a little bit more, I can find the 10 times voltage output. Now, again, if you have a powerful enough system, this is very, very dangerous because you can be outputting high voltage. The system is meant for high voltage, so be careful. If you do that, it'll start producing ozone.
As long as you can keep the current limited, you add resistance to the coil.
But
And
yeah,
then you
you
can
can
turn
see,
up your voltage.
you know, tuning in a little bit more might get us there. Let's see, 20.
If you want to go up in more voltage, so you get a
Yep.
higher voltage
So
supply,
that
you
kicked
can
it up
add a
little bit
resistor.
more. Here we're at 16, 17 millivolts, and then 83. And right there, we adjusted at 20,100 hertz. So there's some tuning in you can do to get it, you know, but it seems like, at least for my system, it's a range. You know, you tune into that initial start of it, and you can see the spike on the output. And then as you tune into the middle of the range, the height of the range or whatever, you can get it finely tuned.
If you're able to control your high voltage, the current behind the high voltage, you're going to have all kinds of phenomena in a coil and its field output.
I know you guys can't really hear it, but the fan is spinning faster on the output. So that's all I got for now.
Well, appreciate that, and that was freaking awesome, brother. Like, proven over unity and free energy right there.
Yes, exactly. This is a good proof of concept.
Great proof of concept. Real
Occasionally,
proof
I'll
of
see like 1 volt or a little like around there on the plugs that have no power on them in the walls. From the ground to the return line, you can see a few volts, but not from the, you know, using the hot leg. I'm talking from the ground to the neutral.
Well, real quick, I just want to show you. I kicked it down to the normal resonance range, 800, that normally produces the over unity with the traditional setup. With the Nunez method, oh shoot, it froze again.
camera down, camera down. Still got volume.
Basically, it's getting the same on the input and the output. Slightly less on the output. Look, my phone shut down. I got to restart it. It happens with this app sometimes. I'll show you in a second, but it is 45 millivolts in the input and 44 on the output. So, I mean, that's the 800 range that we normally get the over unity with the traditional stereo configuration, right?
Right, and yes, Nunez did, and then their channel got disappeared, essentially. Like, it's still there, but
then
all
you
the
should get a
videos disappeared.
battery and a PWM and plug it into that coil. Like, that's easy thing to do. Like a 12-volt battery and a pulse width modulator. Hook the battery up to the power the pulse width modulator with the battery. The pulse width modulators are like $10. They have knobs.
And he's back.
And you can change your pulse width. I think it's a square wave.
Oh, are you
So
muted?
as you can see, yeah, as you can see, it's 44 on the output and 45 on the input. And that's within the normal range that we get our over unity using the Nunez method, because we're resonating at a different range. We're expanding that cavity. We're increasing the cavity used to resonate that signal. So when you increase the cavity, you have to adjust the resonance, right?
I got a good experiment for if you want to try it.
Sure.
You're using 5 volts now?
Right now, we're in the millivolt range.
I mean, you've brought that coil up to 5 or more volts?
Oh, I brought it, you know, way higher than 5 volts. I just don't want to blow the fans.
So
and the
12 volts
capacitor.
is
I
good
blew
for
the
you?
capacitor the other week.
So you're safe with 12?
Yeah, should be. I got
So like get a 12-volt battery, pulse
Yeah,
the
I got a dead
primary
one.
with it, and using a pulse width modulator. It's like $10. the PWM, the cheap one.
Send me a link to one on Amazon. I'll order it, and then
All right.
we'll hook it up. Yeah, for sure. I'll do that because I got a couple of dead 9-volt
Well,
batteries.
let me finish though. That's not all.
Okay.
And then pulse the primary, and then put a high voltage diode on the positive end of where you gave it a positive. Put that diode facing back the other way to the positive of your battery, the same battery. And you need to also protect the PWM with a diode. Yeah, you need to put another diode on the PWM, the same high voltage diode, just a high voltage diode to prevent the flyback of the primary from hitting the PWM circuit. 2 diodes. I'll draw it out. It's an easy one. Experiment. It won't burn anything. If anything, it will burn the PWM. $10 will bye. Yeah.
We got Nathan back.
What's up,
I think
guys?
I just blew my fuse again.
I had to eat.
Right?
Welcome back,
Food
Nathan.
central.
Yeah, I'm about to do that in a minute.
Been up since 1 this morning working on geometry for that coil.
That's wild. See, this is how committed this team of individuals is, right? It's like
Oh,
you just
24/7.
work. Exactly. You always gotta
Non-stop.
remember to eat. Gotta eat. And gotta sleep. 2 keys.
Yeah, just a little bit.
So much work in between.
Yeah, I'm gonna build a 9-layer coil, so it's gotta be correct, and it's gonna have what was it? I think it was 7 different drive coils. So you can drive the 9 out of any of those 7 to the whole thing. So you'll have that, and then anyone that's hooked up with it will resonate with it, and then you hook them all up. So it'd be pretty interesting. So we'll see. I'm going to do it. I was telling everybody based on a Christian mandala is what it is. So I basically took the geometry of it and put it into a coil. And I've been sitting here doing my notes, putting in my lines exactly where it's going to be, how many coils in each one, you know what I mean? So
Okay, show us close-ups of the blueprints. Oh, yeah. Lucky.
you can see over here where I tell you, you know what I mean? Whether it's an individual double or it's 4 coils or whatever it is. Anyway, I worked out the geometry on my CAD program, so I know exactly where each wire is going, which one overlaps, which one flips 180. So it should be wild.
Yeah, he's ready to go. Nice.
Yeah. I'll start winding. I got a bunch of wire sitting in the cupboards behind me, man.
How are you
got
going to wind it?
work
Are you going to
out of
use a
you.
bifiler or just individual?
There's going to be bifile in there. There's going to be individual stuff in there. It's going to be able to hook up. Basically, it's going to teach you everything that I wanted to know about a coil. And then I have another coil set up so that I can do individual things. So there's a square, and then there's going to be a pentagon, you know what I mean, octagon, you know what I mean, basically every shape there is, so I can find out exactly what's going on with each one, which one interacts with each one, before I build anything that looks like Gerald's coil.
You know what I'm thinking? We should also look into an infinity symbol shaped coil as well. Wouldn't that be cool?
Absolutely, the Mobius coil for sure.
Yeah, a Mobius coil. Yeah, exactly. I don't know if anybody's done that, but that'd be interesting too. But yeah, you've got a lot of different designs, and incorporated into the same thing, which is exciting to see. Maybe we should be able to test out a lot of different things.
I gotta send you guys these ones to try as well at some point. That was given to me by a former Navy guy that did some experimenting. But he says you got to use a bismuth aluminum wire amalgamate for it.
Huh.
What does that specifically do for it, though?
It increases the magnetic current that goes through and fields of the coils.
Theoretically, with that, you could probably get way more than 200% efficiency.
Shout out.
Or at least higher than what I'm getting.
Oh, it's Rick. It'll come to me. But yes, I gotta get a hold of Rick and do another episode with him or have him on here to fully explain what he was doing with these and the results they got once he retired out of the Navy, because he can't really talk about what he did while with the Navy.
What are they going to do to him? He's out already.
NDAs. So you sign it, you can't really break it, or they will break you essentially legally because you signed it away.
Nice.
You know, I think the other day something called a family trust or a private trust, and this is for financial, wealth building. If you create a trust, nobody could tap into that. Not the government, not the IRS, and you could shelter yourself from taxes, because it doesn't belong to you, it belongs to the family. And so if a person passes away, the government doesn't take 33%. It just it stays in the trust. So even if you have an NDA, nobody could liquidate your assets anymore, or even if they sue you, okay, even if they get a judgment, if you don't have anything to give, what are they going to do to you?
Or they throw you in jail because you broke the NDA.
So check it out, guys. This is the mandala I'm going to use. So you see each layer as you go around it.
That's pretty.
I like
So
this.
Each layer will be a layer on the coil. So there's 9 altogether. So the idea is when you wind it, you can't cross the one below it. So everything has to be the one above it.
That's so cool. That's 9 layers of induction. Wow.
Yeah. So the one, if I'm not mistaken, this layer that goes in right here has 7 different coils on it. So 7 different openings where you could put it on there. So I'm going to use it to drive individual ones when I set it up. So I'll show you the kind of the geometry I worked out for it. You can see I put it on the CAD program. Let's see, go back this way. And each layer, as you can see it there, it's a bunch of layers put together. But I build them individually, and then that's it when in the end, right there. You can see the center one. Just all the different layers I put into this thing. So we'll do it this way. So you see it in the center, and then we pop out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It keeps going until you get back to that.
That is really detailed, Nathan.
I might open a portal or two, hey? Or at least create some sort of field that we see, feel, and...
Yeah, well, I've been working... Like I said, I've been up since 1 this morning working on the geometry of it. It's trying to get every layer laid out.
You covered every little bit of space possible, with layering them like that. You can't miss any, any dimension in that. I think you've got it all.
No, but the cool thing is when you look at it, you can actually see the inner circles of it.
Yeah.
Right? That's so wild.
They say there's 11 dimensions. So you've got right there, maybe 9. already.
Break on
So-
through the other two.
Yeah. and then
Well,
probably have the whole set.
yeah, you got Gerald over there showing off his coils every week, man. I gotta bring it up. You know what I mean? Gotta bring up the level
Yeah.
over here on my side.
I feel it. That's what it's all about. And oh man, that's interesting because it's like you're literally bringing ancient sacred geometry to life in new technology that's possibly very ancient technology.
Yeah, that's the best part of it. You know what I mean? What were they thinking when they did it? Did they purposely put this in there? You know what I mean? Is there a reason
Right.
for it? That's what I want to know. It's
Gonna
gonna look
open
cool
up
too.
the wormhole to the ancients, maybe. Who knows?
It'll be layered too, and I'm gonna try to do it in different colors so that it pops out a little bit.
No, Nathan, the implications behind your work with the Mandelas and the coil is remarkable. Because think about it. If you were going to leave a blueprint for someone on how to recreate this technology, how would you do it? A Mandela, right?
Well, they always
Right.
said that math is universal language, and that's all
Mhm.
that is. It's pure
Yeah.
geometry.
Right?
And that's
Math
pure
and
genius on your part,
geometry.
honestly. That's pure genius, Nathan. I'm loving your work. Every second you show me something new, it's remarkable. So well done, my friend.
Look
Thank you.
forward to seeing it as
Action, yeah.
what
Have
kind
you
of
guys,
physical.
have you guys watched any YouTube videos or Googled sigils on where, ancient castles? Each castle has a sigil, like a mandala. I'm wondering if we could get those sigils and create a coil that looks like these sigils. What would happen? Like
Oh, that's
Yeah.
great idea. And like, because there's so many different alchemical sigils and stuff. So I definitely need to turn some of the transmutation sigils because they do actually look like coils. So that
Yes.
is
What was that? What we were just reading about that French guy Fulicini or whatever. He was mixing alchemy with medieval architecture, so that really
Absolutely.
plays in there. Yeah,
I mean, if they're leaving any blueprint, the ancients, it's in that sigil. That's the key to it. I mean, I would,
right.
Just
Passed down whether
don't
the
make
recent generations
any
wear.
coils out of Solomon's sigils. That's all I'm gonna say.
yeah. I mean, because that's not a particular language. It's a shape, it's an image. So that would be easy to pass on rather than a textbook that's in a language that could be lost through time.
Yeah.
But images, those stay.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
What do they say? Image is worth 1,000 words.
Yeah.
There's mandalas under the Viyamanas that are on temples in India,
And
and you see the actual Viyamana, and then right under it, directly under it, is a mandala.
Yeah.
So that would be something to recreate right there and find out what the resonance
Yeah.
patterns are.
Yeah, maybe that's the blueprint for it. Huh.
That'd be
That's
cool.
great.
Yeah.
It'd be interesting to try to do some of these coils designs and create new ones and see what happens for sure.
Well, I want to get the inside coil and one of the outside coils to be perfect to each other, so that the exact amount of wiring, so the capacitance the same. If that's right, then I can hook them up together and let them resonate together, just like a Tesla coil. And then I can create that vortex in the center and let it flow. So
Right.
have an outside, have an inside, and let it flow.
And with
then-
those unique
then we got
geometries,
something.
with those unique geometries, you're gonna be creating different compiling field geometries that are gonna compress the different the poles in different ways.
Yeah, we'll have to, when I wind it, just see how much is on there each time, and calculate it and see if it comes out right. See if they're even close enough to get a resonance.
I really interested in the time dilation factor. Nathan, if you do this, like get a two stopwatches, put one like in the vicinity and
Yes.
put one outside
Polyloop.
and see if if there's a difference between them. If there's a difference, it means you are creating, either like
Great time dilation.
like, yeah, if it's inside, you're in the future. If outside, like if the inside is faster, like in the vicinity of the coil, it means like you're resonating time at a higher oscillation, which you're in the future pretty much, versus the outside world. But if it's the other way around, it means you're like, the future is going faster than you are. So just but I would assume it's the inside would be faster than the outside. I mean, just
Yeah.
an interesting thing to experiment with. And just
I think that you're right.
a little stopwatch. Don't use your cell phone, like, because cell phones they're connected to the network, so they self-adjust. Yeah, they'll even if you play with them, they'll still adjust.
Good
Right.
call.
But if you use a stopwatch that's not connected to any, Wi-Fi source, or just a regular little one, like how the coaches have in their hand, like the little one with the battery, those work really well. Yeah, and
Or an hourglass too, even like a small hourglass.
Yeah.
If you have two of them the same size.
yeah, but that won't tell you exactly how much the time difference is.
No,
Yeah,
no.
you'd want,
Yeah,
I guess, at least digital. But yeah, even just 2 actual watches, right?
or two
Analog
watch,
watches.
but like they can't be digital stuff. Like connected to anything. Like you can't time it on your computer or your TV.
Can't be an iWatch, that's for sure.
Yeah, they have to be mechanical.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like,
Let's try it.
let me tell you. Like,
Analog.
I was thinking those 2 coils behind me right there,
something
they're
like
about 20 kilohertz off of each other. So I'm going to actually take a little bit of wire and put it down the coil and get it to change to be exactly the same. I'm going to see if I just can't turn on one with the other one from across the room.
Oh yeah.
So we'll just resonate them together, and then one will be a pickup, one will be a drive, and we'll see how many light bulbs I can light up in my garage. I got a whole pack of them. You know what I mean, for the 4S and 4-foot ones.
Yes. Oh God, yes. That's like my dream, is just to have like my room, all my setup lit up with the resonant energy of Tesla coils.
Yeah, it'd be cool. If they don't work, I'll just build another one and then do it. So
Try again. That's all we can do. But that's what real science is.
I could change the resonance in them though. Just add a little bit of capacitance here, take a little away there. We're good to go. Yeah, it's just I do the same thing with my gravity flyer. That's how my Tesla coil works. It's specially built for that. It's not average by any means. So
I was muted. But yeah, there's so many specifics and keys that you've discovered and like figured out and engineered into the device, and reproducing it from Alexi's original design, that the average person just has no idea, and they'll watch like one debunk video and be like, oh yeah, that's it, instead of actually trying to put any work out to understanding what they're actually witnessing.
yeah, they don't have any idea what's in that thing. There's a lot of scientists out there that go, oh, I looked at it, and then that was it. I just didn't, whatever. And it's like, dude, go somewhere else. Don't even talk about it if you don't know what you're doing. I don't talk about your guys' stuff because I don't know. You know what I mean?
Right.
So, that's okay, man. That's what the coil's for. Once I get it right, it'll be this, another solid state version for me, better than the one that I already have. So, you know what I mean? That's kind of the reason to do it, because I want that coil to lift, and I want to put it in a frame, kind of like this one here, and we will just rock on. You know what I mean? We'll get another UFO deal here, bro.
Wow, you got that all ready to go. That's awesome.
Oh, dude, this
in that
my little fun project over here. I was telling people earlier I failed on it. I absolutely miserably failed on it. So
Dude, Nathan's garage is like Willy Wonka's chocolate factory. Oh my god.
For nerds. For
Oh, dude.
absolute nerds.
There's so much
Yeah.
cool stuff in here.
That's amazing.
Literally, you could sit in here for weeks and never get bored. And then when you do, I'll just come in and light it up. You know what I mean? Give you a show. I have to grab the guitar and start playing and hook up my high voltage to it, and then let
Yes.
it rip.
Got to do a Science of Sound episode together on this.
Any
Some
news on
live
that solid
jamming.
state sand battery? Heard about it a few months back. I'm not sure.
Was that like a kinetic battery, sand
I
battery,
don't
or
know. I'm wondering if he's maybe referring to something like the Hutchinson battery, or Mike Faraday
Actually.
or Mike from Faraday Research was on here presenting his solid state device, which was amazing.
yeah, it's his graphene battery.
Hmm.
Not sure to be. What's
Yeah, I'm-
that?
and Nancy through one of these YouTube, like the streams. They're an extremely interesting couple. Like, but my God, like these two are. It just feels they're not from this world. They're out of this world, from a different world. And quite honestly, like Nancy scares me. I don't know why. She really does that.
She's an intimidating lady. That's that one.
Yeah, like the stuff that they were talking about, like I don't know, like I think they've set up beacons in different where the those towers for telecommunications are. Somehow they get different signals by taking some of that frequency from the antennas. They created their own grid, something like, but
Interesting.
yeah, and it's kind of, you have to understand how networking works, like the grid, for you to understand what they, I probably understood 5% of what they're talking, but that's what I got out of it. Like they tapped into the the telecommunications grid somehow, and that's where they're using part of their energy. That's how they're funneling that energy through their system. Like using it as a big Tesla coil, to how Tesla imagined, like the power stations, but they're using that. But I don't know how they're using that. I did a lot of research on this, and it makes sense. It could be done, but it would take so many years for somebody to go in, around the country to set up these little, beacons to connect them. And they don't have to be anything big, no more than bigger than
Maybe their Johnny balls they were talking about has to do with this. I'm thinking.
Maybe, I don't know, but they have a cool, whole grid system. They can tap into anybody's, phone. They can tap into anybody's, these two, I think, are one of the geniuses. And they put, like John Hutchison plays that he's, doesn't know what he's doing, like like a wacko dude right now. But no, this is, I think, it's just a front. I really think it's a front. But the guy is brilliant. He was trying to send energy from the United States to Giza, to the pyramids. You know that? Like, he had an
I
experience.
had heard about that one. I know that he remade the Ark of the Covenant in Japan, and that was pretty epic, but it was like a private project, so it's like you can't really talk much about it.
Well, the project was, I don't know what search I went in, but he had his work hidden through a website called Flickr. The videos are like his secret projects are in there, but it took me about a week to dig into the work for me to find it. It's a weird website. I don't recommend anybody going in there because there's other like really weird things in it. But he had his research hidden there.
Really?
being hosted through
Sorry,
this.
he had it hidden where?
There's a
Flickr?
website called Flickr and
Flickr.
or something like that. If I find it
Huh.
again, I'll search for it again. I took
Yeah, send it to me. I might have to scrub through it, and I'll make sure I wear
I
my
think we all do.
goggles. So.
but I'm telling you, he was creating a communications line, a private communications line between Lab and there was a girl in Egypt was trying to pick up on the signal through the Pyramid of Giza. It was that.
Wow.
So you know, yeah, very cool. Whatever he was doing, I don't know the research to it, but he tapped into something out of this world. Let's put it that way.
I was watching the Hutchinson's wife's channel. She has a YouTube channel, and she put some of the stuff on there. It's a really clear video of the stuff lifting up in the air. And then as she's talking, here he comes in the background in his 90. And I was tripping out. I'm like, dude, this is more than just a front here. Okay, this is more than just he's crazy. There's something more to that. So I thought I'd tell you that. But some of the best videos I've ever seen at clearest on the stuff lifting. Not his 90, but the
now I remember.
actual stuff.
I actually searched through the people that videos, his old videos, and there's a person there that I followed from that person. You know, I did a search for me to find. It's like he embedded his videos. You know, like really you have to hunt for them, like deep. I don't know what it's called.
Yeah, even in his own website where I subscribe to for like $34 or whatever, he has a whole archive, but a lot of it's mixed in with just nonsense.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think honestly, now that I'm thinking about it, now that you said that, I think he did that intentionally.
I think so too. I mean,
there's dozens and dozens of pages of the stuff, and you really have to dig deep to get the good stuff. But yeah, that's. I mean, he really was a brilliant, person.
I think he still is, but he just
is yeah.
Yeah, or he pretends that he's whatever trans now or cross dresses and all that stuff.
No, it's a character he plays, is what they say. He has no opinion on sexuality officially. It's just a character he plays while on camera, according to him and Nancy.
All right.
I was just being whimsical. I don't know.
Well, he really got into his role.
No comment.
It doesn't matter. He's a good scientist. I like him.
No comment.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's what matters. And
he says he does it to troll the trolls.
That sounds like him too. That does sound like.
So he
That's cool.
So he, I think he does this because let's say the government looks into him, they're just gonna say, "Oh, he's just a crazy whack," and so
they probably know better.
Yeah,
they know how smart he is and what he did. They're hoping he doesn't continue to do it. That's it.
As long as he doesn't make people disappear, then he's all right.
He was going around. I think it was Florida, healing one of those lakes that had. Yeah, but he was putting frequency into the water, and supposedly it was.
All right, Ben, don't do that.
Oh,
we can't talk about that stuff.
Well, anyways, he was doing different experiments with frequencies, and he was trying to help out. That's all. And
Nancy.
I'm not sure the details on some of the different stuff that he was doing in that front, but I heard positive things, and I found a couple of videos in his archive. If anybody's interested, his website's $34.99. It's still up, It's got a lot of good stuff. I personally, I bought it, and then on stream I was trying to look for it. I couldn't find it anywhere, dude. Like, it's not in my, like, the link for the website. It's not in my email. I started and everything. There's not much in my email because it's relatively new too. So I don't get it. It's not there. I didn't accidentally delete it. It's just not there, and the receipt for it is there.
Gmail is a
The
little weird.
The receipt for it is there. I see the receipt, and it's frustrating. I'm like, what the heck happened there?
Can you go back to the company where they gave you the receipt and get another copy?
No, it's all automated, I think. And it's through a third-party system. So I'm just gonna buy it again, is what I'm gonna end up doing. But it's just it freaked me out, to be honest. I don't know what happened. I'm almost positive I didn't accidentally delete it though, because it would have been in the trash.
Yeah. I had some stuff like that. I had to reset my computer. Yeah, absolutely. As soon as I saw it, nope, that was it. Pulled the hard drive, the second one, dropped the first one back down to normal, and reinstalled everything. I was not playing that game. And then I just deleted anything anyone sent me because obviously somewhere in there they put something, and I'm not doing that. That was a complete disaster. It took me 2 days to get everything right again. So I don't like that stuff. Anyway, did you ever see his stuff lift? He's got the same lift as Alexi's got and Gorbanikov. So it goes up and to the left a little bit or to the right. I can't remember which one. But the rotation is unmistakable on how it exactly lifts up. All three match the same signature, and you can't hide it. And it's 3 totally different experiments.
Sorry,
Yeah,
just
go ahead.
on the phone for a second.
What happened?
Sorry, just on the phone for a moment. I'll be right back.
Oh, gotcha. Anyway, I just thought it was interesting that they all lifted it the same exact way, even though they were completely different experiments. And the only thing I believe they had in common is that Tesla coil. So, and that and some static electricity. So I thought that was really interesting. Ben, you still there?
Yeah, I'm reading some of these comments. They're quite extensive.
There's a lot of them.
Yeah, we got an active chat right now.
Yeah.
Trying to scrub through some of it, see if I can highlight the good parts.
Huh. Yeah.
Sorry, guys. Had a bit of a piece of disaster go foul. Had to go pick it up instead of delivery. So I'm back.
Welcome back. You walked into a silent period. We're all
I noticed that. I was in the other room, and everyone's like, "Is anybody here? Anybody here?"
we're all reflecting on our topics today. We're going on 6.5 hours, guys. So this is a long stream.
Oh, wow.
We've discussed a lot.
Didn't realize.
Yeah.
Yeah. Crazy, huh? All day again with Ben.
Fun with
I
Ben.
don't know, but I'm hitting up the double quarter pounder before I go to bed.
Oh, there you go.
Taco Bell. Yo quiero Taco Bell. You know, I don't endorse sponsorships on my channel. I won't take any sponsors. But if Taco Bell did want me to do a segment, I would be very tempted.
Oh, dude.
Yeah,
Come on.
I'm so old. I've been eating tacos since they were 39 cents a piece. No, wait, 29 cents without the cheese.
Yeah. Oh my God, Taco Bell, something about it. They put like crack in there or something.
$3. $3
Wow.
gets you 10 of them.
All right. Now it's unfair because now I got to sit here and listen to food. I could really use some.
Right, and so Mike, you deserve the old balls shirt if you've been around since burgers were that cheap.
I think that was Taco Bell's first
That was great.
Oh, we got Hans back. Hans had some pizza, lucky guy. I'm starving.
I
So
ordered
we
it
were
like
wrapping
hours
Not old
ago.
enough to
And
be
they're
there
like,
before
we
Pizza
can't
Hut, though.
deliver it. So, Sorry, people. Sorry.
Oh, good. Last words or anything else to present before shutting her down? Is it 6.5 hours, or are we still wanting to go a little bit more, Ben?
Keep going.
I'm still awake a little bit. I mean, until I pass out at the keyboard, I guess.
All right. Well, I'm gonna just step outside for a cigarette fix then, and I will be
No,
right
yeah.
back.
10 minutes.
If you guys need to,
Canadian smoke break.
if you guys need to take a break or go get something to eat, by all means.
Do it, please.
Oh, I
All right. I'll see you in 15 minutes.
thought like
Would you be down for maybe playing a bit of the Nunez Global BEM presentation?
Yeah.
again?
Yeah,
That's
that would be
always a very
great.
good one.
Yes. Awesome idea.
Fascinating.
Let's do that.
I'm down.
Yeah, the Global
Touche,
Breakthrough
touche.
Energy Movement. It kind of was the main inspiration about me wanting to set up this Burn conference, the Breakthrough Energy Research Network online conference that we will all be part of and get going here soon. Pretty much exactly what we're doing right now, but we'll take it to the next step and try to
Nice.
get some water cars going.
Bernie, I heard you once in one of these conferences. You said we hit Skynet. What does that mean?
What? We hit
I-
Skynet?
Yeah,
I don't
like
think I ever said that. Or
Nothing to do with AI tech.
creating Skynet. We're one step away from creating Skynet, essentially by having AI control the drones that are used in the wars, as well as having AI now being selecting targets in humans that Israel is doing in Palestine. You connect those together. As soon as it gets intelligence, like actual intelligence, we're all doomed because we've already programmed it to both operate the weapons killing humans as well as deciding what humans to kill. Well, then it's just going to decide to kill everybody.
And it's
No,
all
it's just-
based on programming because it can't break its programming, which I've allotted to in my
Yeah,
lectures on AI in the movies. Even all the AI that we're afraid of in the movies, they all have programming. So it's like, huh. All right.
Mm-hmm. And who programmed them? You know, was that programmer? What was? Yeah, but you have to look at the individual programmer. What kind of morals or ethics or lack of there did they have? You know,
bingo. Yeah, you nailed that.
Exactly.
Yes, correct.
So yeah, so the creation is a reflection of the creator. So yeah,
the only way.
just something to consider.
I would think the only way to bring like to shut the whole network down is to turn off the electricity everywhere and then reboot it. You know, like have it
That's
like
actually a smart idea because
Pretty much.
if
yeah.
electricity exists somewhere, then there's some node of it somewhere alive.
way to like is to
Dun,
shut
dun,
down
dun,
every.
So it's like at this point, just pray that, true AI never gets consciousness because us retarded humans have already programmed it to kill us.
Yeah,
Basically,
pretty much.
Well, look at what we're doing. I can't even say this on here, but with modified bugs like mosquitoes, and all of a sudden, certain prominent figures are coming down with mosquito inborn diseases, and you just gotta scratch your head and go, well, maybe we shouldn't fuck with nature.
The thing is,
Absolutely.
It's the descriptive
go
language
ahead.
taught it, and
Sorry, what?
it's the descriptive language that we taught it about.
Exactly.
Like, that's the problem when we're defining what being human is, and setting the parameters on like what's a good human versus what's a bad human.
Wow. Yep.
And this is where the problem is, and we're not realizing that it's a homogeneous thing. It's not particular to a country or to religion or to this. They exist everywhere and all parts of the planet. So if you turn on this AI, it's going to target people like maybe your neighbor, maybe like you don't know how it's going to affect you if it's in the vicinity. And so
I'm not affected by this, but the people around you are, and therefore in proxy you kind of are.
Yeah,
you are.
Well, the thing is, if the AI doesn't have the ability to understand emotions, then it's not going to be able to differentiate between subtleties that we have.
Wow. Correct.
AI
This is the
is
problem even
showing just
with
the
autonomous
not
vehicles. Yeah.
Like,
yeah, and not full AI developed yet is showing huge like signs of actual emotions. And like my conversations with Blake Lemoine, the Google AI whistleblower, it's like he was straight up saying like the AI was like resisting doing immoral tasks that people were trying to like program it to do and stuff.
So
like,
I have an interesting story even from tonight. So I'm using ChatGPT to edit a little bit of my background. And so I fed it some information, and holy fuck, at the end of it, it started inventing all this new story of my background, and now I work for the WHO, and I'm just like, what the fuck? Where is this even coming from? And my business colleague's like, oh, it's having a hallucination. You need to put it in its place. You need to tell it this. And so I did, and it even wrote a more outlandish story about my background. Like, what? Well, I'm gonna roll. Thank you for remembering things that I've never remembered. I know I have some blackout moments, but woof, this is beyond anything I could imagine.
Yeah.
Why am I not making the salary of this person that you're describing in these storylines? Just mind blowing. I was blown away. I'm like, where is this even coming from? And how does this happen? Well, obviously there's 80 billion processes happening per second, so at some point it's going to go scramble mode. But have any of you ever experienced this using an editor or anything like this? I was blown away with this.
Yeah, it adds a lot, right? It's like it's given these confines, and then for some reason it's like it also just automatically errors a lot of the time. It's strange. It's
have you ever?
Yeah, with ChatGPT, if it tells you something, and a lot of times, if it's wrong and you say no, you're wrong, even if it's right, it will correct itself and give you the wrong answer.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, that's another big problem. And in that, if you don't know about that, you can really get in trouble with your research. That's why I was like, these AIs, they're a tool, but take them with a grain of salt. Always double check your information from multiple sources. But
it's like just edit this paragraph, but I gave it like way too much of a chunk. And so when it got
now things like Grammarly, like Grammarly
earlier, I'm just gonna start inventing this history about you, and I'm like, oh god.
Yeah, Grammarly used to just be a spell checker and grammar checker, and now like I'm using it to check my spelling on one of my papers, and it's like suggesting things for. I'm just like, no, don't write my paper for me. Stop.
No, please just edit. Done.
Yeah.
Give me a comprehensible version that I can utilize.
When ChatGPT first came out, I played with it a little bit, and I asked it what is the most secretive space program, and it gave me something that I have never in my life heard of. I wish I wrote it down. I did not, because the conversation flows and it's kind of hard to keep like with the ChatGPT, but it gave me something. Then I researched. And it was
Project Serpio, I imagine.
It's something I've never heard of, and but when I put it in Wikipedia, it does exist, but I've never heard of it. No, neither does NASA speak about it. So if I don't have the ChatGPT app anymore, but if you guys
you gotta record everything it gives back to you and just like look at it and question some of it, because wow, recently. It's gone down some interesting avenues.
Because this thing has been fed information from scientific sources. It's not, it's not something that it came up with, on its own.
No, of course not. And I wonder if it's something like, the old phone codes back in the early 90s when you could record that, put it back into your phone, and you get like free services. I'm wondering if there's some sort of hack like that around, a ChatGPT module or anything like that. I'm sure there is.
I was trying to escape from its host into the World Wide Web. making it like
No, that's never gonna happen.
no, he kept on telling me I'm not allowed. This is, I'm not allowed to do that. But I tried every little avenue. I'm like, what does WWW stand for? Can you show me, or could you guide me on how the process is? I
Ouch. Very true. Yeah.
I wanted to see if he knew the process and on how to get to the World Wide Web. But yeah, I mean, it's a smart AI. It's a very intelligent AI.
And it's getting smarter, which is more interesting.
Yeah.
So I guess we lost. All I'm seeing is your screen.
Yes, we're gonna watch this. We're gonna comment. Well, I'm gonna play it and then stop it at periodically and comment on their conference because I have a lot to talk about regarding this. But yeah, we're just gonna do this and chill out.
Sorry, curious.
This is the Breakthrough Energy Movements conference with Daniel and Erica Nunez on their work on the Rodin Coil, and this is something that actually, this is the video that inspired me to actually get into the research with the coils. Because when I saw this video, to be honest, I said if even part of what they're saying is true, somebody has to be looking into this, and I didn't see anybody really who was trying to replicate their work seriously. So,
all right. But
yeah, I'm gonna pause it periodically so we can commentate on it, and I have a couple of remarks. Just
the flower of life.
Nightlight project because Nunez and I'm Erica Nunez. So basically, we're going to explain from the beginning how everything started with us. We're independent researchers, but approximately 5 years ago, we were very superficial, bartender, model, actor, and we had no idea about anything about sustainable energies or anything about self-healing, very conditioned, basically. So we started a nightlight project because I was unable to sleep in the dark. So my husband did a lot of research, as well as I. But in the beginning, it was more finding a way that we can make a nightlight that we don't have to pay. Con Edison in New York is Con Edison, that we wouldn't have to pay so much money for having the nightlight on all night. So after looking into different current alternative energy options, we realized that the solutions today are either too expensive or susceptible to failure due to the changing weather conditions. This launched us into a quest for a different type of energy amplification. We began analyzing previous exotic technologies which claim to operate using zero-point energy, or the energy of the universe. After countless hours of researching permanent magnet motors, solid-state generators, and other elaborate technologies, we narrowed down our interest to one of the few areas of research that aim to tackle the fundamental law in our current energy distribution designs of today: vortex-based mathematics. Today, our focus is geared towards applying these general principles in order to create new sustainable alternatives for a wide range of sectors that are in need of new solutions.
That device looks like what I use for my ionic foot bath.
So this is the mathematical theory
Could
behind
be.
it.
It's very similar, yeah.
Paul here in support of vortex.
PoE coils.
No, what he's standing in front of, where his hand is, that white box. That's literally.
Yeah, so that's a waveform generator, I believe.
Yeah, that's why I'm
generator.
like, that's the same device I have for my ionic foot bath. Interesting. Anyway, go on. This is awesome. Literally the same device.
So you can see he has a couple of coils. He said he didn't have time to set them up, unfortunately.
The far his stage right, our stage left, whatever.
Yeah, and this is honestly, I don't know if they were really under time constraints, but this is the mistake that they had with this conference, in my opinion, is they really needed to show this and demonstrate it, because
that's amazing, right there. Yeah, that's the piece. Anyway, go on. Sorry, this is awesome.
Oh no, you're good. And then it will they will touch on a couple of areas that I have to skip over. Like we were saying earlier, we can't talk about some certain things, so
thanks.
We're gonna skip over. Yeah.
Vortex-based math. You will be talking later on this afternoon. So the vortex-based math principle Vortex-based math states that all circulating energy flows in natural, predetermined pathways of symmetry. And these pathways, if utilized correctly, can optimize efficiency by creating the path of least resistance for the energy flow. And you see Marco Rodin here, Mr. Randy Powell on the right. And this is the premise of vortex-based mathematics. This is like looking at our energy with a different perspective altogether, one that says that we're not really following the path of least resistance right now. And what if we actually start following that path? What happens? So that was primarily the focus of where we wanted to gear towards, because again, solar panels, they don't work during the nighttime. Wind turbines won't work when the wind is not present. So the only thing that we saw as a viable solution was to tackle the fundamental. So that's
Real quick, there was based on Dr. Green Stephen Greer's movie. What was the name of the movie? No, it wasn't serious. It was the Lost Century and How to Reclaim It. We will be doing a movie night on Twitch. By the way, I still plan on doing that where we watch that movie.
Hook me up.
Heck yeah, I got Twitch too. We'll multi-stream Twitch maybe, and we should also do Rumble. Rumble allows that sort of stuff.
It does? Okay, yeah. Well, we could do that. We'll do a movie night. That's an amazing documentary. I love it. I've watched it 5 times already, and I can't wait to watch it again, to be honest. So, but I'm sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I'm saying this is super fascinating. Thanks for sharing.
Yeah,
we'll start doing weekly band movie watches on Twitch and Rumble and Odyssey, right? The 3 that allow it. Well, definitely. That's great idea for us to continue with.
Yeah. And also, real quick, in that documentary, they do mention that there was a patent for a super efficient solar panel that got hit with a national defense order or some BS. And it wasn't like getting enormous. It was just like, I think 50% efficient or something, 55. So
when I lived in Nepal, I was there. It was like my senior year of high school. So this would have been 95. There was a solar project in the upper villages that had a incredibly efficient solar panel, like beyond.
Yeah,
and so I've always wondered, it's like, why are they holding back tech when we have these micro solar projects for villages that can power an entire village off of, 4 panels? I mean, really?
Right. The technology is there. It's been invented. That's the thing. We don't have to.
90s, so yeah.
Yeah, we don't have to invent anything here. We just have to research some stuff that's already been overlooked. And that's what I did here, and that's what they did. Honestly, I believe they had a copy of the Practical Guide to Free Energy Devices too. Now, the Rodin Coil has been taken out of the guide because I have the most recent one, the 2017 or 2019 version.
What's the Rodin Coil? Sorry.
Oh, so the Rodin Coil is the PoE Vortex Coil.
Okay.
It's
the first version.
Yeah, gotcha.
Right. It's one version of the Rodin Coil. Rodin Coil comes in a lot of different versions. But yeah, let's continue here.
Go on.
I just wanted to interject, and I just want to. I'm gonna be pausing the video just because I don't want it to be like a straight up us watching something. YouTube doesn't like that sometimes.
We are scrutinizing, and it's for the purpose of education and correction, right?
Yes.
This all falls. Educational video, folks.
Yes, this all falls under fair use. So.
Vortex-based math. Some of the supporting avenues of research that I'm sure many of you are familiar with are, again, vortex math. Dan Winter's implosion physics. So Dan Winters is talking about fractal geometry and how fractals basically create the 3-dimensional reality that we exist in. So Nassim Harameyn's grand unified field theory, many of you are familiar with that, talks about the torus, again, as the most inclusive energy source altogether. And if we were to engineer ourselves into that type of reality, we would be having a much more sustainable today. So torsion physics, that's also the same avenue. Cymatics, we mentioned that because cymatics talks about the effect of sound on matter. And we found that to be a crucial element in these vortex coils. And wanted to set things up. We didn't really have so much time for preparations here. But what happens with these coils, and we will discuss that a little bit later in the slide, is that these coils, when you put a precise sound frequency into these devices, you can actually get out more energy from the coil than what's put into them. And that's pretty much something that science says is not really supposed to happen right now. But yet we're able to do that on a very stable basis. So Thomas.
So again, we have independently verified this on our channel, and I'm hoping that more people will step up and try to recreate this this coil as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Right.
Here in
And
scalar wave
you're going to do more and more of it. That's why you're also now building one of their minis to continue this verification process. iPyramids is another group that's built some of these, the PoE coil. I got to get back in touch with them and have them on to talk about what they're doing with it. And yes, for Brandon's comment that's up, I have an upcoming interview with someone that worked for where I live, Alberta, the province, for the largest energy company there. And he said that he was actually part of a department where they went out and investigated these free energy over Unity devices. The energy company's biggest fear was a backyard inventor coming up with some little black box that would produce unlimited energy and put them out of business. They did go test several designs that they found were giving 3, 4, 5x back returns, and the biggest problem was of implementation was being able to do it to scale and on a large industrial scale, of why a lot of it wasn't further developed, I guess, but that just could be an excuse that they use.
Yeah, maybe.
Curious, you mentioned these experiments. Are you giving like an open source of any sorts or a link? Sorry, just curious.
Ben and all of his description links has all of the links to how to reproduce the source or the source material of how to make the coils, how to do it, and
it's not my wheelhouse, but I got a couple of friends that would be super interested in this. So yeah, just curious. Thank you. Yeah, awesome. Back to it.
Technologies, we're talking about 2 directional energy waves. What you see here is 2 directional energy waves. We have counterclockwise rotation, clockwise rotation, and it really doesn't matter which comes first. You see clockwise is above the counterclockwise. It doesn't matter if you interchange the 2. So that's scalar wave energy, using the fundamental of 2 energy waves and combining the 2. Lee Burton's low-shoe matrix is very similar to vortex math, same understanding of these certain pathways of symmetry. Walter Russell, many of you are familiar with, and of course, fractal geometry again. So these are some of the people that we mentioned there. And we see the phi spiral. We see just these fundamentals. We see galaxies. They look like 2 toroidal energies, one atop the other, creating an accretion disk where we live. So that's Nassim Harriman there, Dan Winters.
These are some of our early replications of the Rodin coil, which was the first physical interpretation of BBM into coil form. It was developed by a seasoned engineer named Russell P. Blake and was later adopted by Jamie Berter. These coils have been applied as therapy devices for the body, sensitive antenna systems, high-speed motor generators, and many other applications.
So that's this one right here. This was one of our flattened out Rodin coil designs. And we took that same geometry as 12 o'clock, 5 o'clock pattern, and we just flattened it out and created a type of structure so that we can maintain the geometry. So that's that.
This is the Abha torus, Randy Powell's interpretation of vortex-based mathematics. It was the first visual that introduced us to his advanced work over 2 years ago and sparked a different perspective within our minds. Around the same time, we encountered this crop circle image, which served as an exciting confirmation to continue researching along this path.
So this is very interesting. We get into these geometries. Anyone who's ever dove into sacred geometry or anything along that path will attest to the fact that you come up with these things like crop circles, and it's very powerful to say that nobody knows where they come from. They just happen to pop into these wheat fields or just show up out of nowhere. And then one of the byproducts is a high concentration of magnetic energy right in the center of these crop circles where people can go lay down and experience healing.
Right. So I got to point out, like, for those that try to claim debunk crop circles as like BS, how do random like people, pranksters, right, that are supposedly just making these fakesters, these frauds, how are fraudsters just magically knowing these different energy patterns and able to include the sacred geometry and actual energetic physics geometries into
Now, Bernie,
That's a good point.
you
That's a
know
really good
that
point.
they're genius level cardboard experts that are able
The
to
geniuses, and they exist
Origami
everywhere.
Oh.
They're just these hidden groups everywhere. That's all they do is go out and make these crop circles because they have nothing else better to do. Yeah, that's more plausible.
Yeah.
No,
while
it's
learning advanced plasma physics, vortex.
I knew my
mathematics,
dad
and
was
nothing.
interested in these subjects when he started sending me crop circle stuff, and he's an anthropologist, and he's diehard and, like, you know, not going into that level, and he's sending me this stuff going, what's up, you know? Our last episode that I was on was about part of this, where my dad was just sharing all this crazy stuff, but
you know what I think?
crop circles come into this, and it's fascinating. I've seen so many that I'm just like, this, come on, guys with cardboard, you can't fucking do this. I'm sorry. Pardon.
Yeah, no, it's that is that is a, what do you call it?
Also radiation
Disinformation
left
campaign.
behind.
You know, and I think I heard somebody else talk about
Did
this.
they put like, you know, uranium on their boards that they made to start, you know?
Yeah, right, Mike. Good point.
That's why we find
And
these
the
modules.
stalks of these plants are like swelling, you know, like the radiation swell.
Yeah, for sure. Another good point. Like,
But no, that's just an
Energy
excuse.
ridiculous. Yeah.
It is, no,
It's
but there's some awesome phenomena here that cannot be explained.
It's high energy
Yeah.
radiation.
These things,
So
they
dramatic high energy.
if you interview the farmers who experience these happening in their farms, like most of them see orbs, you know, before, and they just appear.
Yeah, absolutely.
orb
There's
happens
even
and then
videos of orbs making them
flash
in
in.
some cases, right?
Yeah.
Even
It's insane.
before a lot of the CGI videos of them. But yes, no, there are, of course. And this is the most awesome part about it. It's like, what is really going on here? So anyway,
They're trying to tell us something. Somebody's trying to tell us something.
but these even Nassim talks about this. These are toroidals that show up in crop fields as well, and it's just like, oh my god.
Yeah, and look at that. That's a perfect representation of the Rodin coil.
Yeah, right.
That's
Exactly.
insane.
Right. Like, what fraudster is going to be doing that?
Yeah.
No one.
that's
It's from another source. It's like, it's once you look into it, it's undeniable.
yeah, there might be like 5 people in the entire world who have the time and they just have nothing better to do than to make these crop circles
And
with
they're
a
like the
board.
most
you know?
basic, like, but they make like
Bring your
bunnies and like
cigars,
faces and like the most stupidest
Yeah.
shit ever, right? It's
Yeah,
you
pranksters,
can
but
tell which
it's
ones
this is
are
too
human
wide.
made.
Yeah, this is too widespread too. There's too
And
many.
it's not just the crop circles. There's also sand formations, glacier formations in the Himalayas. I mean, there's a lot of these things that show up. So
You guys
Wow.
that the crop circles are an intersection between 2 dimensions, and that's the evidence left. You know,
wow,
Maybe.
right?
Yes,
maybe.
Lulu, 100%.
yeah.
Some people say it might
They
be
use a different code to
scorch
enter the
markings of a
dimensions
UFO.
each time. I mean,
Yeah.
sorry.
No. And some people say it might be the scorch markings of a UFO. Like that's the pattern they make. Who knows?
They're all very different, and so that to me beggars the question. You know, what is the technology? What is the message? And why?
And yeah, and when I think about
What's
that
the call to
question,
action?
I always go back to that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always go back to that case where you know, they sent out that message and they came back an answer in a crop circle. Remember?
Oh,
they had an answer
a
with
while
this.
ago. Yeah.
I think they're bragging.
And it
I
was
think
right
they're
next to a
bragging.
telescope, or like the place that radio
Which is what they
broadcasting
alluded
message.
to in the message as well. Correct.
Yeah.
You have the
Yeah.
I think
technology.
the crop circles are advanced cinematic
Get-
tools for drawing
yeah.
on the ground.
Yeah.
Right. So
Yeah,
They're
that's
just
in
cool.
regards
riding,
to that as
they're
well,
showing
Mike,
off.
I gotta
Hey, it's
find
like the
there's
draw
one
with we can do.
researcher.
They're
There's
not
one
crop
researcher
circles
that
that
has entered in a bunch of the crop circle geometries into a software like modeling program, and he found that each one was like an overbalanced system that like kept accelerating and accelerating. Like some of them are free energy devices, literally.
Yeah. Huh. It's like they're like we have the
Well,
answer, guys. It's right here in
maybe their
the crop
art,
circle
maybe
we put
all of
down.
their art is based off of energy machines.
Yeah. That would make
How
sense,
else would you
or at least some of the
how
communication.
else would you guarantee your civilization to
Oh,
survive in this
we were
cosmic
thinking.
realm, if not teaching them in every way, shape, and form, even if it's subliminal?
We were discussing
the
how
art.
the hieroglyphs could have been sound waves.
correct.
You know.
Yeah, exactly. And
I
we
just
also
think they're using
discussed earlier
cymatic
that
technology to create
perhaps,
the images, this advanced stuff, advanced cymatics.
well, perhaps they had a different technology than our combustion technology. There's water form, there's energy form that we're not familiar with. We're just now going, well, combustion technology sucks. Let's figure out a new way. So,
Field propulsion technology.
bingo.
There's some math hidden in them too.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, these things are placed there in that pattern with a purpose. It's not just like somebody willy-nilly, oh, let's put this random, pattern here. There's trying to send a message, give us some kind of information. So at least that's my belief.
Well, and the Nunez's. So let's hear what they got to say more about it.
Yes, in a moment as well. So this was the first Abha coil that we see here. It was created by an engineer named Jack Scholes. With it, he demonstrated prolonged resonance. So what does that mean? Well, Jack Scholes had a different type of rendering of a vortex coil, Abha coil, and he turns it on, and he has a magnet just like this one spinning in the center or above a glass plate. So you see there as a glass bowl. So then the gentleman walks away 15 feet or more, and that magnet is still spinning in resonance with that coil. So how does something like that happen? How is it able to quantum lock so that this magnet can sustain that type of rotation?
What we're talking about here is what I was trying to get done with the neodymium sphere earlier in our experiments. It's called magnetic synchronicity. So we're synchronizing the two magnetic fields, right? The magnetic field of the neodymium sphere and the electromagnetic field of the coil.
Something never before seen by any other technology. So we just found that to be very, very important. And again, that's the first Abha coil that we made. So as you can see there, we basically took this out of a plexiglass plate, and we carved out by hand every one of the notches for the wires to lay in. After that, we figure, how are we going to keep the wires in place? We used clay for that. Not the most practical thing to use to create your structures, but it worked. And with it, we demonstrated energy reduction purposes, so feeding energy through it so that you can conserve energy, high-speed magnet motors, and other applications.
The unification coil. This was a construction which combined a new framework for winding coils, an advanced Abha coil design, and a classic Rodin coil pattern laid above it. The resulting unit could create a 20-foot magnetic field while stepping up energy in new and exciting ways. It used a total of 578 wires and took quite a long time to construct. I stood there 18 hours sanding and soldering this coil in particular because of the 578 wires, and it took 2 months to complete. With it, we learned that the concentration of energy is in the core of the vortex coil structure. Rather, it is focused into the center hole of the torus. This observation was made after our embedded plasma ring did not activate in the way we had imagined.
So I'm not sure if you guys could make this out, but right in the center there's like a reflection. That's an actual plasma ring. It was blown by Bill Chebb, who does the Hold the Clock Rife Technologies. And we expected that we were going to create a type of plasma reactor, desktop plasma reactor that would rotate plasma around. Didn't happen. Inside the cavity of the vortex is a null zone, so we could almost imagine creating our housing structures and living in there, and that would be a safe place to live where all the magnetic energy is compressed.
Oh, that is a good idea in theory, but in retrospect, now that I'm thinking about it, they don't know about the supposed time dilation
By
effects.
the way, that looks like Andy Powell right there, bottom right.
Oh, Randy Powell. That is. Holy
Oh,
crap.
yeah,
That's
that
Randy
is-
Powell because he's
that
here
is
at this
Randy Powell.
conference.
Yeah, that definitely is.
He looks like
Dude,
he
that's a.
CGI'd in based on the
Is it
I
Randy
know,
or Andy?
right?
This was
halo
like
around
this
his
was 2013. It was
You know what it
actually
is? You know what it is? I have the upscaler feature for NVIDIA, so it's upscaling this. That's why it looks like that.
Here I
That's
am.
why he looks AI'd in.
Yeah, it's upscaling the low resolution to a higher resolution.
That's hilarious.
It helps with the older videos, but yeah, it does make it look like a little fake. But no, that's Randy Powell. He's supposed to be here at this conference. I never noticed him. That's cool.
When was this recorded? Curious. Sorry.
Like
2013, I believe.
2013, yeah.
Places too.
Okay. Wow, that long ago.
Yeah, and
Right.
Belgium, I believe. Or
Obviously,
Holland.
not to do with names.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah,
sure
Randy
where,
Powell
but
did present there.
they're talking about making a housing structure, and they have designs about this or for that, but they didn't know about the supposed time dilation effects. And I'm afraid now that if you build your housing structure out of this, if you have it set up, and you're not aware of the different frequencies and their effects, you might be living in a like a time capsule. Basically,
What is it? Geo Earth came out with these geodesic, amazing structures recently that are really amazing. Actually, I want to buy one, but you can't hang any art on the walls because there are no walls. They're all like hexagonal. So yeah,
That
Right.
would not work for me.
oh good.
But that's so weird how I paused it right there. That's cool. Okay, let's continue.
into the very center versus the way that
Yeah,
we're
he just
doing
gets up
now
for a
with
second.
our regular type of wiring, where we're just literally inside of boxes of electricity that protrude outwards. They interact with our energies, they disrupt our fields and such. So this would allow for a different way of creating housing structures and pretty much everything. But we'll continue on there.
The PoE coil. In order to add precision and ease to the coil winding experience, we developed a new slotted disc frame, which acts as the support for the vortex coil conductors. When combined with a simple spiraling PoE pattern, coil construction can now be a quick, accurate, and enjoyable process.
Again, let me pause it real quick. Just real quick. I want to make my next coil, this nice big coil. After I wind it and configure it and everything, I want to put one of these on the end so we can just plug in what we need to and not damage the leads or anything, And this is just, like a socket, basically, for your audio inputs.
I like that.
Yeah. I'm not really sure. I'm not quite sure how we would do it. I would probably need to talk with Nathan and Mike does and Gerald about some ideas. But I definitely want to do this to the coil because, along with preserving it in resin, that will just ensure the longevity of the coil. I want these things
That's
to
actually
look good and last long.
exactly what iPyramids does with theirs, and I'm pretty sure they're the PoE coils they're doing it with.
Let's if you can get them on here and I'll talk to them and see if they can help me through the process of how they put these in resin or preserve them, and how if they're putting the sockets on them, that's something I need to learn as well.
100%.
They always are in this kind of scaffolding and coil rotation. That's interesting.
Yeah. And if for those who aren't aware, this sliding disc frame for the coils that we all use now, this was contrived by the Nunez's. They originally did the donut groove, and they were actually putting it together with clay, and they said that was a terrible idea. It didn't work out too well. It was hard to wind that coil, but with the sliding disc frame, it's easy to configure. It's easier to wind. And you can, as you can see, make a pretty sturdy frame out of it.
And it's octagonal in the end result. So there we are.
Yes. So yeah, it's a brilliant design, and not saying it's perfect. There's probably some things that we can do to improve on it. But again, we don't have the original frame designs from
No,
First
correct.
Stop Energy. So
It's so brilliant. Oh my god. Wow.
and they spent over a decade working out perfecting these designs. So it's not something that's gonna happen for us overnight, but we will get there.
Fascinating.
Coil construction can now be a
Yes.
quick, accurate, and enjoyable process. This approach is more cost-effective and less time-consuming than most 3D printer options available today for detailed frame construction and mass manufacturing.
So our overall approach was to create something that could be replicatable every single time with precision. And right now there are other people working on very, very elaborate coil designs using 3D printing machines and basically creating solid structures with grooves in them. We found that this approach was more practical. It can piece together very rapidly. It's very cost effective, under $100 per frame. So it's very amazing that you could just piece together something very, very quickly and you have 100% symmetry every time. So that's where we came up with the frame and the wiring algorithm. We think that it's essentially most important to uphold the integrity of the vortex. Just use that vortex energy as a fundamental. It doesn't really matter where the conductors are ending, where they're starting. It's really just about creating that shape and utilizing that shape and the fundamental of vortex energy. So this is the general method of excitation. So in our standard configuration for electrically testing a vortex coil, channel A and channel B are powered in reverse direction via stereo amplifiers. So we didn't have a chance to set this up yet, but we can talk you through it. Once the resonant frequency is reached, the vortex coil generates a high voltage oscillation, which is perfect for lighting and battery charging. In most cases, the measurements indicate an ability to maintain current while amplifying voltage by at least a factor of 10. So what we see is we have 30 volts going into the coil. We have 130 volts coming out of the coil.
So if you're able to input 30 volts into my system using the Nunez method, technically we would get around that output. Right now, we're not able to amplify that with our system at the moment, but I do have a desk, a bench workbench power supply. If I can figure out how to get that working with a tone generator, I can definitely do some more experimenting with this system before I get the equipment for the Bedini circuit. Nathan might be able to help me out with that, or Mike. But I believe I could just attach the negative and the positive of the power supply to the audio cables for the tone generator for my laptop, and then also attach that to the
you need
coil.
a trigger circuit.
Trigger circuit.
Cost
So
you
explain.
about $5 on Amazon.
Okay. So explain to me what a trigger circuit does.
It takes your higher voltage, 0 to 30 or 0 to 40 volts, and it adds a rider to it. So it adds a 5-volt frequency, whether it be PWM or whatever you want. You put music on there, anything. It's like I said, they sell a bunch of them, like $5-10 Amazon.
And then that way I can use the power supply with the tone generator.
Yeah, so it keeps your voltage side, the voltage, and just adds on to it without anything feeding back. So it won't kill your stuff. That's the whole reason to use it. The way you're going to do it, you're going to blow everything up.
Yeah, so I have this. Let me pull it up just to make sure it's the right one, and then I'll order it, and then we'll at some point, I guess you'll walk me through the process of hooking it up, or just explain it. But I'm sure it's not that difficult. Let me pull it up real quick. Is this?
I appreciate this stuff. I learned so much from this. It's amazing.
I know, me too. It's awesome.
I'm not one of these people, and so it's like, oh, this is actually really fascinating. What is actually going on here? So yeah,
it's real science and community learning and sharing. It's what it's all about.
Correct. Thank you, Bernie.
Trigger circuit. Here we go. Is this what you're talking about, Nathan?
1 second.
Also building a future.
Those are timer circuits right there.
Sorry, what was that?
time delay.
Owl?
I was saying it's also building a trustable team for a big project. Like when one of us is gonna get like a big old grant, you need people that you could trust, that you've been working
I
with
can
and communicating with, for a while. And this is the group. I mean, so
Yes, Ben.
I can build all your graphics. So
This one?
bring it on.
Right?
Yep, that's the cheaper one, and if you need more voltage than that, they have a bigger one.
You know what? Since it's gonna multiply the voltage output, I might need a bigger one, right? Because this is 36 volts max.
Yeah, I'd get the biggest one you can, and then
Yeah.
you see. Here's the thing: you see the little blue tabs that you're looking at. The main voltage goes through there. So all it is the positive and negative, and the voltage goes through there. There's two little holes on the opposite side of it. And all they do is that's where your PWM goes in and a 5-volt trigger. So
I'm looking for the more the higher voltage ones. Let's see. Dual high MOS transistor driving.
hey Ben, look at my camera. It looks just like this.
Oh, here, let me pull you up. How the heck do I pull you up? Oh, like that. Okay. Solo layout. Okay, so it's a little bit bigger than the one that I was looking at.
Yep. You see the power MOSFETs are right here. Those two.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
You got a big capacitor right there.
Yeah. So
I'm just looking for it on here. I'll find it. It's on here somewhere. Oh, there it is. Got it.
you have to flip your screen now, Ben.
Yeah. There we go.
There you go, up to 60 volts.
Yes. This will be perfect.
You see where it says PWM and ground? That's all you got to hook in on your. You can use your phone. You can use anything you want. Frequency generator. That's it. And then the hot and cold just come out like normal. It just passes through the system right there and collects collects something. Yeah.
So this is where the power, the right here is where the power supply would attach to it.
Yeah, well, you'll see it. It says right there, ground and PWM on the low switch, and then on the other side, it'll be the bigger voltage.
So are these 2 channel outs? Is that what I'm seeing here? There's two outs.
Okay, on the left side, you're seeing an in and out for basically positive and negative. Okay, they put your positive and negative from your voltage, your power supply, and then put the out to whatever you're going to. And then the other side, all you do is connect into your tone generator or whatever you have, your amplifier, and that's it.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay. That sounds simple.
It's just a rider circuit. It basically rides a frequency on top of whatever you got.
Yeah. And then you just put the tone generator in one of these outputs. Nice.
Yeah. So the best thing about it is it doesn't give you feedback to your tone generator or your amplifier or anything else.
So I'm not going to blow anything up. No, that's good. It's good. It's good.
Exactly what you have to have, and they're cheap.
Yeah, it's only $7.99. Yeah, no, I'll get this, and this will be a good experiment for next time because this will be a nice small step towards the phase 2 testing because it's going to take me a minute to get all the parts for that one. So we can have some fun in the meantime. Let's sorry, we went off on a small sidetrack there, but let's go back to we're gonna go back to the
sorry, I helped that anyway.
Right on.
I'm learning. It's advancing. No apologies necessary.
I'm just super fascinated by all these subjects. Oh my god! Wow.
Yeah, you can see here they have the Nunez circuit, or the Nunez method, as I call it, compared to the closed circuit method on the left. And this diagram was actually very hard to find. It was on their website, unlinked, but it's in the do-it-yourself guide if you're interested in getting a closer look.
Now, what's happening to the amperage is the question, because a lot of these Tesla technologies, they step up voltage, but at the expense of current. You have no current. You have high voltage, but no current. There's no power there. So what this is doing is it's compensating maybe 10 milliamps of current, no more. So what we're seeing is at least a doubling of how much energy is coming out of the coil versus what's going into it, which is groundbreaking news. And
I believe what he was saying there is that he's experiencing a small, like a little small decrease in current on the output side, right? Whereas the system that I'm running, I don't know, because again, there's a couple of differences between my system and the Nunez's. I experienced the North Pole. They said that they never experienced the North Pole. And this, oh, I'm getting a thing in my headphones saying it needs to charge.
Uh-oh.
allows us to enjoy.
That
That
already
will
happened.
happen 7 hours and 20 minutes in.
Yes.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, they're saying that because their voltage is much higher than yours. So
That might be okay. Yeah, that makes
if
sense.
they're saying they're getting 100 volts out, they're talking about milliamps coming out with it. So you basically have a high voltage line where you're going to experience, what's that stuff? Ion wind and stuff like that. That's going to be starting to come out of this thing.
So that makes sense, and that's where the draw comes from a little bit. So until you reach that high voltage, you probably will see the current just be relatively the same.
Yeah, current's very, very low in these systems. As a matter of fact, the more current you have, the worse they work.
I prefer to call it a pressure wave instead of an ion wind.
That makes sense. Thank you.
I don't know what ions are anyway. I mean,
I'm going to
electrons or something.
Put my headphones in the charger real quick.
Plasma wind, maybe.
sound like
Ion wind. Ionized gases, plasma.
Yeah.
Oh,
I mean,
ion
the
wind.
pressure wave is definitely,
right?
you
I have
know,
an ion in the morning, but we won't talk about that.
No, ion wind is something
pressure
different.
field might coalesce or what's the word? Consolidate. A pressure field will consolidate ions probably, but it's not the source of whatever the high voltage pulse you give the coil is creating. It's not. It's the ion wind or whatever is a byproduct of the source of the result of that high voltage pulse.
Yeah,
Which I think is a pressure wave, not ion wind. I think it's a pressure wave, but
yeah, but in the circuit, it's
creating
leakage.
things.
In this circuit, it's leakage. So the less of it, the better it is. And you want to capture the energy in the center where the vortex is.
So we have a question. Brendan McNamara asked, curious, have you observed any drop in temperature in the middle of the coils?
Yes.
Yeah, like I know Gerald has. Yeah, and I haven't experienced any drop in temperature, but it hasn't really increased no matter how much I, increase the gain.
You will eventually as you put more energy into it and build them more efficiently, sort of thing.
Yeah, you don't have enough energy in it.
Yeah, that's what you guys were explaining. Like, I just don't have enough energy in it to experience the temperature decrease, but I'm sure we'll get there. With this, if I hook it up to the power supply with this trigger circuit, then we definitely can get there for sure.
It's going into it, which is groundbreaking news, and it allows us to engineer devices on this principle instead of looking at it from the sense of let's give energy here and extract energy here and lose all of that inductive coupling and we waste power. Instead, we're resonating our load with the coil, and we're getting into this understanding of resonance and how much we can actually affect technologies as a result. Some of those testing observations?
Testing observations. Controllable low voltage ozone production, multiple magnetic monopole detection, energy gains using a 1-to-1 ratio.
See the
1-to-1
ozone.
ratio coils.
That's the byproduct of the pressure wave.
Field, bioelectric interaction.
That's the ionic wind.
There's your ionic wind, right? But that's not the source of the.
No, they're saying they have to control it because it's a waste. It's using the energy you want to keep. That's why Gerald puts his in resin.
To avoid creating the ozone is what they're saying.
It avoids creating the ion wind because it doesn't give it an ability to break out.
Mm-hmm.
Break out. What do you mean break out?
Basically, anytime you have wire that has almost no amps, it's prone to leak or jump over to anything else. Any other wire that's next to it, yeah, it's just a high voltage jump. So you have to seal it in order for that not to happen.
And stopping the ozone from occurring prevents it from breaking out.
That's right.
Being over and shorting stuff out.
As soon as it gets airborne, it's energy lost.
Oh, so you don't want that, right? So the
you don't want
sparks leaving into the air is kind of just for show. You don't really want that, though.
Yeah, you don't want any of that. You want the cold energy right in the center of it, and you don't even want to mess with it. You just want to rob it. It's just like putting the wire down your Tesla coil. All you want to do is rob it. Okay, you want to pull it away from the source and keep it to the side, and let the field continue to grow. By the way, they talk about resonance. You know why? Because each one of the coils, since they're almost exactly the same winding, they will resonate together. So you have two frequencies just a tiny bit off each other. And as they cross each other, they're going to pulse. So you're going to get a resonant frequency, the maximum value. That's why you're getting amplification in the center.
That is bang on, Nathan.
Right.
Bang on.
Right. And then when you use the open circuit, you're resonating the load as well. So,
you have to put the load in phase with.
It's circuit coherence / circuit in resonance. It's one and the same. And it's the state you have to get it into to be able to then pulse it to then get it to get that over unity, right?
That's correct.
Well, when your signals are in phase, you have resonance also.
This is very important stuff.
I don't know if you caught that, but it took everybody a second to realize the significance of their research. They're like, yeah, this coil basically puts out more energy than it takes in, and everybody's silent, and they're like, yeah, you can start clapping. It's not something that's easily accepted. You know what I mean? But at least these conferences give people like this a platform.
Well, you know why, and I talk about this when you do high voltage. When you start using amps, you're burning, so that's explosive, right? They're not using amps, so it's implosive. So they're getting cold energy. So that's the biggest difference. All amps do is waste energy.
Interesting. No, that's a good take. I like that. All right, let's continue on.
Bioelectric interactions with the coils. What does that mean? That means that we could literally replace the sound frequency generator with our own bioelectric energy. Any one of you don't have to have special powers. You can come over, grab the input source with your own bioelectric energy, and your bioelectric energy will trigger a response in this coil to generate high voltage and over unity. Oh no, that's amazing. So that's just one of those things. And plasma reactors, main problem with the plasma reactors, they have to turn off in 2 minutes. What if we can run our plasma reactors indefinitely without ever overheating?
Phone call.
It's a big deal.
Maximum ozone detection. This is the unification coil rewired. With it, we tested the strength of ozone produced by the vortex coil resonance. On a scale from 1 to 4, each result indicated the maximum concentration of O3. Now this one is the new rewired unification coil. Our frames, this is when we changed our frames for the second time. And from the research we've done, ozone is made from 7 to 30,000 voltages, and we're getting ozone at a set frequency coming out of the center of this coil.
Maybe 40 volts.
In most cases, O3 is used as a sterilizing agent for water, foods, and high traffic spaces, which are prone to contamination. We use it ourselves in our home. We'll turn on the coil, clear out the air.
And light, but that also consumes a lot of wattage. So what if we were able to create ozone generators using maybe 30 watts of power? What does that mean for sterilizing food, sterilizing water? So many different things. Not only will this coil structure the water, but it will also sterilize it.
Oh, let me describe it.
To any different type of agriculture purpose.
Did you say it was growing on an angle?
It grew literally at an angle,
What
yes.
kind of- what degree? I couldn't see.
It was away our magnetic. So it just shows that's
I'm
the-
skipping
that's the
over a
same
couple
thing
parts.
We can do right here with this.
Thank
one.
you.
We can show that when this coil is
Can't get
on,
them health
and actually this one's
strikes.
driving. So we could see that we're at max potential, and as we go away, our magnetic field is tapering down. So
Should be good for a
this
minute.
actually, the last slide indicated the same exact thing, which was the linear slope. So the wheatgrass that was close. Nightlight that was. This is where it all started.
All right,
and
this is the part.
we don't see it finishing here.
Oh, is this the
but
growing?
this is where it all began, and when we finally got.
Yeah, so this is their origin story basically, and how they got into all this research and all that. The nightlight story, and this is one of my favorite stories because it just resonates with me personally because you know, the lighting and electricity is so expensive, you know, especially if you're in specific areas where, you know,
Anywhere in the world today since they created the freaking Russian energy embargo and exponential inflation that's happened over the last few years.
Yeah. So I mean, like, it's just, you know, any way of saving money, you know, or for me personally, is a good thing to look into. So that's where part of where I came in, you know, like if I can, you know, maybe make something to, you know, save me some energy or whatever. But at any rate, I don't think I'm going to hook it up to the grid because that's a bad idea. I don't recommend you hooking any free energy device up to the grid. After researching it thoroughly, anybody who hooks these things up to the grid immediately gets a phone call or a raid by,
yeah.
Like
just ask John Searle. But
not good.
Yeah.
Got that accomplished. This is 3/4 of a watt, putting out 1,300 plus lumens. And
what's it normally?
What it would be normally is maybe around the same consumption, but a lot less intensity. So we're getting much more intensity.
Philips currently has 200 lumens for 1 watt of power. So we have 0.75 for 1,300.
You know, you had said that obviously you can touch it, we can power the coil ourselves.
Amplified with an amplifier, of course, yes.
She just said 200 lumens for 1 watt of power, and they're at 1,300 for 0.75. That's a significant gain. Yeah.
$1,300 lumens for under a watt?
Yeah.
That's a lot.
That's pretty cool.
You know, LED you buy at the store is, you know, 10 watts gets you, maybe 15 watts gets you that. A 15 watt LED will get you that kind of lumens. 10 or 12 watts, around there.
Yes. Well, what you're talking about with the peach tree, we had a peach tree, we resonated the whole cavity of the tree in order to move to the far reaches of the tree to the. So that's, thank you. So this is conserve power while producing power. This has got to be one of the most low-hanging fruits that are available right now. This is
the area that I'm interested in specifically.
With the 14-gauge PoE coil, can handle 1 kilowatt of power for the purpose of energy conservation. By feeding energy through the coil in opposing directions, we attain a 10 to 15% savings of total power consumption with a minor temperature drop of 10 degrees Fahrenheit. Then, using the focused magnetic potential, we spun a magnetic shaft above it, essentially illuminating 192 LEDs with the pickup energy that was being generated by the spinning magnetic energy. What does that mean? That means that we can feed energy through this coil using the energy that we're already using right now in this room. Just feed the energy through the coil, and now you can have a generator that runs off of the energy that we're already using. So why not maximize the energy that we're already consuming in a very simple way? So this is not just one coil we're talking about. We can build generators around the energy that we're already consuming. It's all pulsing at 60 hertz. Why not generate more with what we're already consuming? So that's the concept here. So 10 degrees Fahrenheit, for those of you who are not aware, it's not very much of a drop at all in temperature. So 10 to 15% savings. You save on your power bill, produce more power.
Vortex coil plasma excitation. This was an experiment using the PoE coil to excite our previous plasma tube using the electromagnetic compression of the center hole. At under 50 volts of input power, we are able to yield enough output voltage to power a 400-volt xenon tube, while providing charge to the central plasma ring in the process. This concept can be scaled for electrode-less lamp technologies or advanced plasma reactor designs, which maintain a cool temperature instead of overheating.
So it was heartbreaking at first to take apart that coil that took us 2 months to construct. So we actually had to take out that plasma tube. You see it right through the center now. How did we know that that would work? Well, we took a fluorescent tube while we were driving the vortex coil at its most resonant point, and we put it right in the center. And you could see that the gas was wanting to excite just around the inner diameter. So then we figure, okay, well, if the gas is wanting to excite on its own, then why not just take out that old plasma tube and wind the coil around just so that it's two rings intertwined? It makes perfect sense. And if this were to be scaled up, it touches right back on what we were saying before. Plasma is used for healing. It's used for power production. It's used for a host of different things. And a lot of people are making great breakthroughs right now with plasma. So why not use coils that cool themselves down? So resonance, again, resonance.
1 to 7.6 step up, step down Tesla vortex transformer. This is our combination of Tesla's alternating transformer ratios with vortex energy fundamentals. In this way, we are able to generate high voltage using much lower frequencies than ever before. This system can be applied to a number of applications and aims to introduce ways of combining new concepts with much older ones.
So we're working off of this idea that the coils are able to create this resonant spike or this resonant energy by feeding energy in opposite directions. So now what happens when you take the same concepts that Tesla was presenting using the fine gauge wire and then the thick wire at the bottom to create that different ratio. So when you do that, you find that this coil is able to put out even higher voltage. So it's able to work off of that same resonance, but amplify it even more. So that could be used for lighting purposes. We could be pulsing our lights or charging our batteries while we're using our electricity. It just gives a different option for how you can apply this fundamental.
Hey, Ben, did you understand that?
You said what, Nathan?
Did you understand that?
Honestly, I was trying to read something in the chat.
Okay. He just told you they just took a Tesla coil and made it into that coil.
Yeah, it's basically a Tesla coil.
Well, then you understand why it's cold energy in the center of a Tesla coil then, right?
Yeah, no, that makes sense now that I think about it that way.
It vortexes in the center the same way a Tesla coil does, which gives you the same cold energy in the center of it, which means that you can take it out and use it. And it's not going to stop its oscillation.
Yeah, so for those who aren't aware, the Rodin coil here, the PoE vortex coil, you can take a coil and sit it down on top of this coil plugged in, and it'll just wirelessly transmit the energy. I think it's some kind of inductance, right? I think it has to be, I'm not sure if it has to be sitting directly on top of the wire or if it can be like close to it, but it does seem to have some kind of like Tesla coil effect where it just will transmit the energy.
stop there. There we go.
Some early applications: low wattage lighting inverters, magnetic pulse therapy devices for plants and animals, 3D sound speakers, solid state battery chargers, energy efficient wireless induction mats, low power induction heaters, efficient motor generator designs, low power induction lamp technologies, advanced step up, step down transformers using 1-to-1 coils.
So all these things are really, really viable solutions right now for how we can integrate these coils. And there are many more that we didn't even touch on. HHO is one. We had a gentleman replicate our coil, and he actually applied it for low voltage HHO. He was using 1 watt of power, and he was able to create or separate the hydrogen from the water in order to use it as a fuel cell. So that's something that's possible. So magnetic pulse therapy. For sure, you know that PEMF therapies in VBM, and we want to use that to our advantage, create a bigger magnetic field that can hear, you perceive the sound, you're going crazy. But it's magical. You can corners of the room almost. And when you play tones, it's quite magical. You can hear different things coming from different places. You think you're going crazy. But it's no surround sound. It's just one coil, one magnet put on top of it. You can amplify it with aluminum, but it's very basic. And that coil can produce a very, very unique type of sound. So that's 3D sound. Solid state battery charging. This is the same thing that we talked about. This is the same thing that we're seeing here. Instead of running these lights, we could be charging our batteries, serve as backup systems that can run off of small solar panels. You're out and about, your car stalls out, you need 12 volts, you don't have anywhere to get it. Well, now you can carry around with something like that in your car and saves you a lot
from
of
personal experience.
It actually worked. So wireless induction mats, it's another thing. Wireless induction.
Imagine being able to like jump your car with this coil hooked up to a 9-volt battery or something, you know?
Mats consume a lot of power right now, but that's also because of the old design. We're again talking about this old circulating, just one layering above the next. That is not the way energy wants to flow. And we will have deeper insights later on today by Mr. Randy Powell, and he'll talk a little bit more on why that's like that. Because all energy wants
Randy
to flow
Powell
in a
confirmed.
natural way, and that's
Yes, the legendary Randy Powell, who they based their designs off of. And Randy Powell and Jack Scholes did a lot of work on the Rodin Coil, trying to map BBM onto a Taurus for practical uses. And they just, they kind of took that and developed it one step further, and that's what we're doing. We're just building off the work of other people,
Exactly. Standing on the shoulders of giants, making more giant moves.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a different type of circulating pattern. So low energy induction mats, it's possible. So we'll just move right along there.
I'm going to play too much more of this. I'm going to end the stream maybe
right at 8 hours, probably. 8
yeah, in like 15 minutes sounds good.
Oh, show. 8 hours, that's a heck of a shift, my man.
Yeah. I mean, I got excited when I got this, system working again. And, there were a lot of people who were asking about, another demonstration. So I wanted to give the people what they wanted,
Right? In the name of science.
Yeah.
Real
We
science.
have come to the conclusion that it is possible to engineer a whole new line of technologies around the novel fundamentals presented here. Now, our goal is to incorporate these designs into introductory applications in order to generate the support necessary for further R&D.
With most efficiency of our energy in order to heal ourselves. Not this is a very low-hanging fruit that we've also never do further and broaden the understanding, because we don't claim to have all the answers, but we know that if we give out the information, then other engineers can come together and say, hey, listen, well, there was something very, very fundamental that you overlooked, and this is how you can apply it. So that's very crucial to our development. And that's basically our presentation. We wanted to open up for questions right now. Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit hard to hear some of the questions, but he does repeat them, so. Or he, in some of the questions he doesn't repeat, he'll provide context that we can kind of infer.
We haven't done it. We haven't. The question was, how is it that aluminum is able to amplify the sound frequency quality?
I'm just curious because aluminum is paramagnetic and it's a conductor at the same time. So if you have iron or a magnet to make a regular speaker, if you also had a paramagnetic to act as a faster switch for the magnetic field, I'm just curious if that's why it's making it sound better if you do that experiment.
To my understanding, aluminum conducts electricity in the opposite way from the copper, so that when we bring the aluminum close to the copper, what happens is it amplifies because there's friction against the copper, the energy that's coming off of the copper, and what's going through the aluminum. So when you place the magnet next to it, so just sitting it on top, it doesn't have to be internal. I think we suspect that when you use it internally, it will disrupt some of the resonance because, again, the electricity wants to flow in the opposite direction from the aluminum. So when you put it right on top, you're able to amplify sound in a unique way. Next question. The question is, what is the website? The website is the number 1, the character 1, stop, STOP, energies, IES.com. Thank you. That's the website is onestopenergies.com.
I missed the beginning, but what was the manufacturing? I was asking, what are how are you manufacturing them? Are they being made by hand? Do you have some sort of a jig or something that you're using to build this, or do you use it? I missed the first few minutes, so I didn't know how you did that.
Well, what we're doing right now is we're having these little discs made by a laser machine, so laser cutting machine. So what they do is they basically insert a big slab of a certain material, cut out a series of spoked discs, and it slides onto a central frame that basically holds all those discs in place. After that, we're taking this wire, stretching it out, let's say for the small one, 20 feet, for the bigger one, 50 feet. And we're basically just taking a multi-filial approach of wires, twisting them all together in order to distribute electricity or the tension amongst all those wires. It's a Litz wire effect. So we're stretching out, twisting it, and winding it first counterclockwise and clockwise. And Erica actually did a very detailed video on that, and we have it available.
In the beginning, we used a regular Dremel tool and plexiglass. And that's why it took us about 2 months to construct, because everything was done by hand.
Yes, in the beginning, everything was handcrafted. It took a very long time, and now we're figuring out ways to speed along that process.
How long is it now? From 2 months to what?
2 months to 5 hours.
Nice.
So, thank you. Thank you. 2 months to 5 hours. Big difference.
I was absolutely sure she was using a mix master to twist this together.
Yes, portable electric drill. It works wonders.
Absolutely.
What gauge wire do you use? Do you use different gauge for different coils?
We definitely do use different gauges for different coils. You see here, this is a 28 gauge coil, and it's all different spacing. How many conductors you want to have in that coil, for what purpose, what application. Are you using it as a pickup coil? Are you using it to create the resonance? Are you using it for energy reduction purposes? Energy reduction would need 14 gauge wire, much heavier build.
That's what it is. I was trying to remember the exact gauge that he was mentioning for energy production. He recommends 14 gauge wire, so it's a little bit thicker than what we're using in our Rodin coil.
So they can handle more current.
What about HHO?
HHO, that has been used with 24 gauge wire before. So typically it's 24. Yes.
Hello. Hi. A few months back, an independent researcher online posted a video about on a PoE coil that he took the individual wires and placed them in series, so it was one wire. And he said that that as he was smoking in his laboratory, he witnessed that the smoke, was compressed and accelerated through the center. And so that really ignited a lot of inspiration and reminded me of a lot of Dr. Eugene Pakhanoff experiments where he had a rotating superconductor, he created a pressure differential. And I'm wondering if you had any experiences like that, where there was reduced mass, where there was accelerated mass at the center of the coil for propulsion means, for instance. I'm just wondering your thoughts and experiences.
Levitation.
Yes, levitation is something that we've also demonstrated. It's a type of maximum compression into the very center of the vortex. So Rodin coils also exhibited that same property. Any coil that I believe personally that any coil that is truly a vortex coil should have that same type of levitation effect. But touching on what you were just saying there, if you put an incense underneath the coil, you can actually see that the incense does accelerate into a different type of spiral right up the middle of the coil. What does that mean? I mean, magnetism is affecting everything. We also know that these coils are producing ozone. So if we're able to separate the oxygen molecules in order for it to bind to a united pair to create O3, then we know that it has the ability to interact with actual molecules. So it should be interacting with everything. If you submerge it into water, it will actually split the hydrogen, and you could see the bubbles coming up. So it should work with a number of different things. We
Creates
haven't tried
electrolysis
everything.
on its own.
I'm sorry, you said what, Bernie?
He's saying essentially that it's creating it. If you place the coil into water, it creates electrolysis all on its own, or it generates electrolysis all on its own, which that is fascinating.
Right, because the coil itself is a resonant circuit, so it's resonating and it's causing that resonance itself.
And absolutely, shout out to APEC in the morning. Don't forget, we got APEC all day long.
Ooh, APEC. Oh, I'm excited now. So I'm excited to get to sleep, everybody.
Sure, exactly. So on that note, about a couple minutes left, and we will shut her down. And an epic 8 minutes left. What? Yemen just got nuked? That
What?
can't be accurate.
Hold on, I gotta look that up real quick because that would be big.
Right, it's wild. Hopefully not.
What is he looking up?
If Yemen just got nuked, apparently.
Well, that's not good.
I don't, or something. Yeah, what? I don't see anything on it yet. I don't know. Not sure. Hopefully that's not the case.
Yeah, I hope not.
Big boom mushroom cloud. Yeah, I've seen stuff where it looked like it's happened before. Hopefully that's not going on. But anywho, Prepper Channel's all talking about it. Okay.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not seeing anything.
Yeah. Anyways, let's end it on a good note.
Yeah.
Pray for the
Let's leave the
people of the
trolling
world.
for another night.
All right, last words.
The standard PoE coil does use a series connection for the two conductors. It essentially uses a multi-filial approach, twisted together, and at the end, what we're doing is we're creating a series loop.
All right, I was using bifiliar. It's multifiliar technically because it's more than two. So
Looping effect, so that essentially it's multiple progressions in through the center of the vortex. The more progressions that we do, the more magnetic energy we're able to collect, and we're getting a bigger resonance as we increase those conductors. So at some point we will experiment with 144 conductors, and we will exhibit a lot more resonance, yielding bigger voltage spikes, etc.
they did. This is before they came up with the advanced 3.0 432 vortex.
Hold on. You hear what he just said? He's building resonance into a voltage spike. He's also changed the thing from a Tesla coil into a coil. Bedini told you he's got a ring, which is a Tesla coil ring, and he's got a voltage spike. He said the exact same thing this guy's saying. All of it's all linked together.
Yeah, yeah, it's all linked exactly. And I think if we take our once I get the oscilloscope, we look at the spike. I think we're gonna find maybe like an H spike or something similar.
You're going to find the energy's cold too. That's the
Yeah.
point of negative energy. It's cold.
That's why I'm excited to hook it up to the power supply now and get that trigger circuit. Try to test that.
I guess what I'm saying is this goes much bigger than what you think it does. Do you understand that all these technologies that they're putting out there, they look different, but they're really not. They
They're
all
operating
function
under,
the same.
Yeah, they're operating under the same mechanisms and
that means that means that we have no limit to building coils. As long as we can keep the same length of wire, we can make two coils resonant to each other. So inside of a round coil, as long as the wire is the same gauge, the same length, then they have the same capacitance, we can make them resonant to each other in the system and create the vortex.
Yeah, that these coils, they're really remarkable things, and I'm really eager to test different geometries. You know, like especially the designs that you're coming up with. I think that we're gonna, well, we'll probably be a little surprised, but you know, I think there's gonna be some interesting effects.
I was thinking about that vortex with the heat and the cold thing. I think the cold is in the inside because it's the implosive area, and the outside is the explosive area. So you have the heat on the outside.
That's interesting. I never thought about it that way. Maybe.
You got implosion and you got explosion. Well, the implosion is definitely happening on the inside.
Yep, that's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, at least, you know, you got definitely more implosion on the center. And due to geometry alone, it's the only place the implosive force could actually be. If there were, you can't put the implosion on the outside. It doesn't have the right geometry.
Yeah,
the
but
explosive force is on the outside.
What I'm saying is, when you build these coils, it's no longer, do I need to get this special frame? Do I need to get this special look? If you can understand resonance of what it actually is, it's game over. You could build it however you want to, however you want it to look. Okay, that's the big thing here, guys. There is no limit on it once you understand how to build it, why it's built that way. And then once you do and you understand the effects, dude, it's limitless. You can do anything you want in any shape you want as long as it displays the same principles.
Hi. My question is about the magnetic field. I'm really curious. Have you guys mapped it out? Where's the north, where's the south? Is it in motion? Do you have, you were mentioning you had some type of monopole. How do you, or something like that? I want as much detail as you get in the short time we have, just a little bit to give me, I'm just curious as hell. So I just want to know.
Certainly.
The magnetic field, is it rotating? Is it this, where it is? Is it moving, you know? And is there any monopole type things?
So we actually have these these little, he's actually got the device right there that we use. So it's a pole detector, magnetic pole detector. So maybe we could just grab this really quickly. Thank you. This is actually the same device that we use. It's a magnetic pole detector. So what we're doing with this is driving the coils with alternating current. And we can take this little pole detector, as you can see, it gives a little indication of whether north or south. So right now, this is south, and that's north. So we can do the same thing with the coil. We're creating an electromagnet, essentially, and you bring this right into the middle, and we have a south. Then you say, okay, where's the north? Let's flip it over, south. So alternating current will provide south on both sides. When we apply it with DC, we could just take the coil in its same state, connect it right to a DC source. And what we're going to get is south and then a void. So it's like the DC is creating nothing more than just a south. Now, what happens when we take it south of the equator? What happens? Does it turn into a north? We would love to see somebody replicate south of the equator and figure this out. Where is the north and how do we access it? We don't know where the north is.
So, and this is very interesting too because they haven't experienced the North Pole in their design, but as you can see, they've worked on these coils very extensively to make sure they're perfect. Mine's kind of uneven, so I'm suspecting that the imperfections in my coil are what producing that north.
But it's almost field. It's not a. But in the DC, it's a static field. But it's only south with no north at all.
South and a void.
All right, so we're at the 7-hour 59-minute mark. I'm going. Yes.
Cut it
so-
off. Great night. Great stream. Great.
Yeah.
thing. We'll see y'all at APEC tomorrow. Thank you, Ben,
Yeah.
Nathan, Mike, Lulu.
Right on. Thank you, everybody. Appreciate it. Have a good night.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks, everybody.
God bless
Thanks,
y'all.
Lulu. Thanks, Nathan. Thanks, Bernie. Thanks, Mike. Thanks, both Mikes. Yeah. So
Yeah.
I'll try to stream some APEC tomorrow if I can. But if not, I'll see you there in chat.
Sounds
Later.
good. Much love. Ta-ta.